Okay, I'm going to just call the meeting to order. So be it resolved that the meeting be called to order and that the agenda for the meeting be adopted as circulated. Could I have a
I'll move.
move it? Councilor Bichetti moves. Can I second it?
I'll second it.
Councilor Patcan seconds it. There are no addendums to the agenda.
No question.
Oh, call the question, sorry. Can I call for the vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None? Thank you. Basically, there's, I just want to give a brief introduction about today's open house, planning meeting. It's a public hearing. A resolution is read to open the public hearing. Our planner begins by presenting information from his report, as well as his recommendation to council. Council members can then ask questions for clarification through the chair. We will then hear from the applicant, followed by those who are registered to speak in favor, those opposed, and then from those who are registered for information. At the end of these presentations, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond at this time. No new information can be presented. Council members will have an opportunity to ask questions for clarification to the applicant or anyone registered to speak on the planning items. All questions must be made through the chair and as per our procedure bylaws. We also had that we have respectful conduct means no interruptions, heckling, applause, signs, or placards of any kind of disruptive or intimidating behavior. These kinds of behaviors do not promote our respectful environment. Anyone who behaves in this manner will be asked to leave the council chambers. I would also request that you refrain from any side conversations as they can be disruptive to the proceedings, especially with the audience that we have tonight. You are free to enter and exit council as needed. Please do so as quickly as possible. There was also, ask for to silence your phones too, please. There was also a sheet in the hallway if you wanted to register for opposed, against, or information, and we will be able to call you by name then when we have when we're at the proper procedure. So now I will read a resolution to open the public hearing. Be it resolved that this meeting of council recess for the purpose of holding a public hearing pursuant to section 96A of the Planning Act. A public a public hearing has been.
Yep, if you could call for a mover, Mr. Mayor?
Yep, good. Just want to make sure. Okay, so can I have a mover for this, please?
I'll move.
Councilor Patcan moves. Sorry, and who seconds it? Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Can I call for the vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Carried. So now we will start with we'll wait for the young lady to sit first. So can I have the planner do his presentation?
Good evening, council members. The first item tonight is a variance application, BO 77 of 2023. The address is 63 Norham Road, roll number 211800. The intent of this application is to decrease the building separation from the required 10 feet minimum from the further projection to 3.54 feet minimum in the RG residential general zone. This is the variance request table. It shows what the subject property is zoned, the zoning bylaw requirement, which is 10 feet, and what the applicant is proposing. Location map shows the subject site and the surrounding area. And this is the site plan submitted to RRPD by the applicant. It shows the existing garage on site, shows the existing building, and the location of the addition to the building. So the applicant is locating this addition on the west side of the existing house, given that there is an existing entrance in that particular location. and given that there's an existing bedroom on the east side of the house. For council's consideration, this proposal is to construct an addition onto the rear of an existing single-family dwelling. The zoning bylaw requires a 10-foot minimum clear of all projections between the principal building and any accessory structure. The applicant is proposing a 3.54-foot separation, therefore requiring a variance. The reduced building separation is internal to the subject site with no adverse effect on adjoining properties. The subject proposal is compatible with the neighborhood character and will not significantly alter the existing site layout. There are no concerns from commenting agencies. RRPD is recommending just two conditions in case the council wishes to approve this application. One is that the variance be limited to what is being requested, and any changes will require additional variance application. And two, all applicants obtain all required permits from RRPD if required. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Does council have any questions for the planner? None? Okay. Any other comments from anybody else? No? Yeah, is the applicant here? Want to come forward? Good evening. State your name and address.
Jamie
Just-
from the contractor, so we work on the project.
Okay.
You're not the owner?
No, the owner is here, so I'm the applicant for the variance on his behalf.
Okay.
So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to, there's an existing addition on the property that we'd like to bring up to current standards. And so the distance between the two overhangs of the garage and the addition are 3.5 feet, but there's also a vertical separation between the two, so it's not like they're going to be, I think as from a bird's eye view, it's 3.5 feet, but realistically speaking, we're talking about something that's not really going to be in conflict. Basically, the whole idea is we're trying to maintain the existing plan of the house, but just bring it up to standards, have like a proper foundation under it, and just make sure that everybody's safe.
Go ahead. Councilor Bichetti?
So this addition is already existing, right?
Yeah, we have a previous addition that's already on the property that we're looking to get rid of the old one and put on that new one that's, bring up to your guys' standards.
Do you know when that addition was put in?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Go
if Councilor Clevers first.
go ahead, Councilor Barrow.
What is the, your proposed addition, what is the square footage?
It's 11 by 17, so it's under 200 square feet.
And what is the purpose of that
It's a
addition?
dining room.
A what?
A dining room.
A dining room?
Yeah, right now there's no, if we got rid of that addition altogether, then there would be, it's just a kitchen. This addition is right off the kitchen, so it would act as our dining room.
Councilor Campbell?
I have a question through the mayor to the planner. So for something like this, why, like if it's replacing what's existing there, Mr. Planner, why, like, is this not something that could have been dealt with right at Red River Planning without coming to council?
No, I can answer that. So if from what we got from the applicant, there is nothing to suggest that it's already there. But if it's already there and you're coming back for like an entitlement, then you need to comply with the zoning bylaw.
Councilor Byron?
I'm a little confused here. I see a drawing here that says proposed addition,
Yeah.
and you're saying it's already there?
That is not what, if you look at the letter of intent that is attached to the report, it says it's a proposed addition. That's what it says.
Right, so
Yeah.
it's not there.
It's not there according to what we have.
Okay,
Yeah.
so my question here is, it's a 4-foot separation, which is not very much.
Yep.
It is there.
This is 1 foot, now we're saying it's 4 feet. Is there a fire issue?
No. Actually, in terms of the building separation, it's pretty much to kind of alleviate a fire spread. But in terms of building code itself, it doesn't really matter, provided it's associated with the single-family house on site.
Maybe I can just build on that. Under the building code, as I understand it, the closer that structures get together, the more skookum it has to be in terms of fire suppression methods, whether that's through sprinkling or non-combustible materials, whatever you have. So there aren't permits for this addition that's already there. So that's why it would be coming through our office and has to be taken care of.
Okay, so you're saying that again. There's no permits for this addition. What addition are we talking about that's already there?
Well, if there's something that's there, according to the applicant, we don't have any records of it.
Can I speak?
So what is already there? I'm gonna speak now to the applicant sitting at the table. You're saying there's something already there. I see a drawing that says proposed addition. I'm just trying to understand what's going on here.
100%, yeah. Right now, I'm told there's an,
When our client moved into the property, there was already an addition on the like the structure was already attached to the house, and he received notice from Red River Planning that this wasn't a permitted project, and so this is what we're trying to rebuild this addition because it's integral to the building as he purchased it, so we're trying to sort of maintain the size and the structure, just make it safe, and
So the dining room's already there, is what you're telling me?
We're not changing the footprint of the addition. We're just taking the old one off, putting a new one on, exactly the same, just making sure that we have a proper foundation underneath it. Right now, it's on blocks. It's not long-term safe
So
for
what
it.
you're doing is you're demolishing.
We will be, yeah.
You're gonna demolish this addition and you want to put a new.
That's right, yeah.
That's what I need.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I should have been more clear.
Councilor
And
Bichetti.
so my concern here is if that garage ever is set on fire,
Mhm.
or ever catches fire, would there be an issue for fire separation?
Not under the code.
Not under the code?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Bichetti.
Can you just bring up the previous aerial? Because it's showing that, like, it doesn't, it's showing it there, so it's,
He's approved, he's saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it's got nothing to do with the fires. Okay, I was gonna bring up something about fire separation, just asking for a different text, something different on the outside of the building.
We'd be happy to
which is
comply if
basically
that's
stucco,
necessary,
that
but
kind of-
mhm.
Okay, but you're saying it doesn't, that's not the issue. Okay.
You know, I think in the past, what municipalities used to do is have this this separation distance as a means for reducing potential fire spread. But as you know, some of the municipalities' zoning bylaws go back 20, 25 years, and obviously through that time, the building code has been updated a number of times. So there's a number of different building measures you can do and not just that you can do, that you're required to do, the closer that structures get together. Sometimes that means putting non-combustible materials, sometimes that means you can't have a window because of a fire blowout, what have you. So they'd have to meet the code.
Thank you.
And I'm just gonna ask another question of the applicant. So when you went to apply
Mhm.
to get the application to rebuild this, is that when you found out that there was no permit for this?
No, our client knew that already, he received notice from Red River Planning that there was no permit for the structure, and that's why we started the process of acquiring a permit to rebuild the structure.
So to Red River Planning, how is that flagged?
I believe it's the notice of violation.
Okay, so somebody put in a notice.
Yes, their bylaw, pardon me, Red River Planning's bylaw attended
Okay.
and provided a notice of violation.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone have any more questions?
I'm good.
Okay,
Well, thank you,
thank
sir.
you very much. Is there anyone here for the,
We have Kevin Aram registered in support.
who's Kevin? Oh, did you want to speak, or are you all right with?
She's the homeowner.
Yeah.
I'm the homeowner.
Did
Okay.
you wanna come up and speak?
I really don't have too much to add to what Shane had said. I think he covered it pretty well.
Okay, good. Anyone else?
Norma Alberg in support,
Okay,
and Rob O'Toole.
okay. Anyone want to speak or none? Any opposed?
No one is registered in opposition.
And for information?
For information, we have Gerald Belinkie
I'll just leave it like that.
Just leave it like that, okay?
and Eleanor Link.
I have one question.
Okay, by all means.
Eleanor Link, 1045 Toshak Road. It's a question for the applicant, through the mayor. Is there also an attached deck being built along with this new structure?
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I guess if we can have the applicant come up to respond.
Yes, there's going to be on the west side of the house, we have the addition, and on the east side, that's where we're going to have an attached deck that will extend to the outside of the building, and it'll be the depth of the deck, of the addition, and that's where I'll have a barbecue and that kind of thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Quick question from the planner.
Councilor Clyburn,
So, the attached deck is not gonna cause any problems as far as that?
So what we're looking at today is just the proposed, the addition. The deck, I'm sure is not part of what was submitted to Red River in terms of this application, but I'm sure if it's under 2 feet or the size,
So
then
you don't have an application?
we don't have an application for that yet.
So they need an application
Well,
for the deck, right?
As part of if they will need a permit for it,
Yeah.
depending on the size and the height.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of our, we've submitted our application, it included all of our plans for the deck and the addition. So what, if there's no, basically they have all of our information is what I'm saying, in terms of, so if it's underneath 2 feet, then yeah, then I suppose we wouldn't need to apply, but thank you. Thank you.
okay. Okay, thank you for your time. So now we'll close this section of the public hearing. Be it resolved that council do hereby close the public hearing and resume the regular meeting of council. Could I have a mover, please? I'll move. Oh, take it, Councilor, back to Cam moves, Councilor Campbell seconds it. Any questions, comments? Can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? Carried. Okay, so we'll go down to 5.1.3 where we'll read the resolution. Whereas an application of variance 77-23 was received for the property located at 63 Noram Road to decrease the building separation in the RG residential zone from 10 feet to 3.54 feet. And whereas under the provisions of the Planning Act, a public hearing has been held to hear representation both for and against the applicant. Therefore, be it hereby resolved that after careful consideration, Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul hereby approve variation orders 77/23 for with the following conditions. This variance is limited to what is proposed within the application. Any changes will require a new variance approval. Applicant/owner to obtain all required permits and approvals from the Red River Planning District if required. A variation order will expire and cease to have any effect if it is not acted upon within 12 months of the date of the decision. A board, council, or planning commission may extend the deadline under subsection 1 for an additional period of no longer than 12 months if an application is received before the initial deadline. Could I have a mover, please? Councilor Clyburn moves. Can I have a seconder? Councilor Bichetti seconds. Any comments, questions? None? Okay, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Carried.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a great evening.
So we'll go to the next public hearing where we'll close our meeting. Will be it resolved that council do hereby close the
We're not
Right.
closing, we're
No.
opening.
Okay, we're gonna open a public hearing. Be it resolved that this meeting of council recess for the purpose of holding a public hearing pursuant to section 105 of the Municipal Planning Act. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councilor Bakhtikan moves, Councilor Campbell seconds it. Any questions, comments? Can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Carried. Okay, so now can I have the planner present next item on?
So the next item is a conditional use application, CU 23 or 2023. The location is 997 Caplos Drive, roll number 29718. The intent is to allow any other commercial use not listed, an indoor play center on the subject property zone CH, commercial highway. Our conditional use table, it shows what the subject site is zoned CH and what the request is for. Subject site and the surrounding area, an existing building on the subject location. And this is the applicant site plan. It shows the existing building 1 on site, and the indoor play center will be located within the proposed building 2, which is the subject of this application. Site photo of the existing building 1, and for council's consideration. The development plan policies under the settlement center designation encourage commercial land uses to locate in clusters and be compatible with existing or proposed land uses. Council had previously granted a conditional use approval for a fitness center on this property, a use that is similar to what is currently proposed. Subject proposal is consistent with the policies of the development plan and appears to meet the intent of the Middle Church General or Secondary Plan. The proposed indoor play center will be located in one of the units within the proposed second building on site. This brings a social amenity close to the entire community. There are no concerns from the commenting agencies. RRPD is recommending 2 conditions: that the conditional use be limited to what is being requested, and that any changes will require a new conditional use approval, and that applicant obtain all permits from RRPD. That concludes my presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here for this, or can you come forward, please? State your name and the address, please.
My name is Amrish Prasher, address 100 Verona Drive, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Do you have anything to present to us?
I'm not sure.
No?
Not at the moment, no.
Does council have any questions?
Yep,
I guess
I
I-
have questions.
Well, sure.
Yeah, I was just reading your letter of intent and stuff, so, it looks like you list a lot of the stuff on here. How many kids are you planning, like, what's your maximum, what's your capacity for, the center, I guess? Per time?
At this time, we don't have the actual number that we can, but the building its size is around 10,000 square feet. Plus the play structure, that is also, it depends on the play structure as well, how many kids can play in there. So we are looking into the play structure right now. Some have 100 capacity, some has 150, some has more than 200 as well at a time. But whatever is going to be permitted as per the building plan, that's what we're gonna keep there.
Okay, one of the main reasons I'm asking that is, how many parking spots are you allocated for your business out of that parking lot? Like,
We
I know
have
the drawing doesn't, it shows pictures, but it doesn't.
62.
We have to, Mayor,
Yes.
if I may intercede, we can't take comments from the floor. If you want to bring that comment forward, it comes to the table, we can do that. So, sure, you can do it right now. State your name and your address.
My name's Arsenio, and I'm from 10 Bridgeman Bay, Westinghouse, and the owner of the building.
Okay. There's a building there currently?
Okay, hold on, Council Bichetti's still asking questions. Go ahead.
Okay, no, so thanks for that, for the 62. So, the reason I'm asking is I don't want to see a bunch on a Saturday morning or on a weekend when it's busy, Like, there's a lot of traffic up and down Capitalist and there's kids, it's all kids getting in and out of vehicles, so I still wanna see something happening, cause there's no parking along Capitalist. And now that's 62 spots, would that?
That's
would there be
dedicated to that
more?
building. And then we have additional for the other side of the building. So their peak hours, like you said, is gonna be weekends and evenings, and that's when the other building is mostly vacant. So they actually have access to over 100 stalls, if on those peak hours.
But the other one has a gym in it,
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And their peak hours are morning, so
Okay.
it works good, and like they don't coincide in time.
The only problem I'm gonna have is if people start parking along Capitalist, just for the safety issues. That's my biggest
Yep.
concern with this. That's it for me.
Councilor Clyburn?
Yeah, you haven't put the building up yet.
The building is going up right now as we speak.
It's going up
Yep,
now.
yep.
So you got a permit
Yep.
for just a regular industrial building, right now?
Commercial building.
Commercial building, okay. And have you spoken to Overtime Fitness about using their parking stalls?
Oh, yeah,
And they're okay with it?
absolutely.
The only issue I have with this application is I cannot see what you're doing here. Like, you're saying it's an indoor play center. Are you gonna have refreshments there? Are you having seating there?
Yeah.
What are you actually putting in there? Because to say to me, I'm putting in a play structure means nothing to me.
Yeah.
I can put a play structure anywhere, right? Is it going to, are people gonna come out of there? Are you gonna have a lawn? Are they gonna go outside? Or is it completely inside?
It's-
And what is inside? What is in the guts? Because the reason I ask you this question
Sure.
is because it's conditional, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to see what is your concept of what you're doing here.
So it's gonna be completely inside. Plus, we are still working with the architect, how they're gonna design inside.
Yeah.
But we have, I can show you,
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
something that we are still kind of planning.
Yeah.
On what we're gonna have, if I can approach you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You didn't give a plan of that to our staff, did you, or? No?
So these are things that.
Things aren't too advanced, as we don't know whether the application will be approved or not, right? So it's kind of like,
Okay, can I have this down the road?
Yeah.
So they can all see it?
Sure. Yeah, nothing is final right now, so.
Yeah.
Once it's final, we'll put in the other date.
This kind of reminds me of Adventureland when my kids were young. They had Adventureland like this.
Yeah, it's something similar to that. Like, we don't really have anything in the north side of the city, even in Winnipeg, but West
Mhm.
St. Paul is emerging, so we thought this is the best place, to come up with it. And it's gonna have all the kids from this neighborhood too. There's a school
And
there.
you have
too.
10,000 square feet.
Yes, ma'am.
It's good enough, good size. To the planner, if anything inside the building would constitute a restaurant, would they require any other conditional use for that?
No.
That's part of our.
That's the
commercial
use,
highway, right? Good. Okay, I got a good look at it, thank you.
No, it's the same thing? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? None? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation. Are there any for this?
Yes, we also have Sankar. And Pamela.
Did- Did you want to speak? Say it? No? Okay, good. In favor? Okay, anyone else?
Norma Alberg in support.
Okay. Want to come up?
Norma Alberg, 312 Evelyn Avenue. I would just like to, I guess, reiterate, I think, the urgency of Parkview Point finalizing its road system and getting its exits, because as we increase the density of a lot of these communal spaces for gyms and dancing and schools and the tennis and plus all of the houses, we really don't have our good solid egresses out of there. So we have the Main Street one very well developed, but then we have just the dirt road coming out onto McPhillips.
No, it's all asphalted right to Capitalist.
And
It's
is it a
asphalt.
controlled access?
Yeah, stop sign with going on to Capitalist, same as it is at the
Are there
perimeter end.
lights at McPhillips? No. So I see that as a problem in an emergency situation, and I think across Canada this summer, as we see emergency situations in various places, egress for the people who are there has become a problem if it's been a sort of a single in and out, and this to me is developed singularly. We have one other, but in a panic situation where you need a whole lot of cars and movement happening, then I think it could create a problem, and I would just encourage MIT or whoever has been left with the responsibility to try to get that second access out onto Grassmere, that needs to move forward quickly, so that we don't want to wait and see how do we do in an emergency.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's all.
Anyone else? None?
No one else registered in support.
Okay.
No one registered against. For more information, we have Jerry Bowenke.
Okay.
Jerry Blanky, 354 Garden Drive. My question, I think was answered, was about the food. Are we gonna have like pizzas or like pizza ovens and things in there?
I
like-
think that we have to.
You have to address.
address
Okay,
and then-
that was
and then
one of
they'll
my-
come up and rebuttal.
Yeah. That was one of my questions. And I have a sort of a complaint about this. Like we have two properties, or two buildings going to go on this property, and we get a public hearing notice, and we just get a square on a piece of paper, and we're supposed to know whether we want to attend or have some views about it. I can't see why more information can be provided.
Okay.
I mean, it's, you know.
We can look at it.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the
Thank you.
comments.
Mayor, if I may, I believe that we sent out a email blast with the connection to all the applications. So everything we're seeing would be available to the public. Yeah, we sent out an email blast, Mr. Belinkie. All you had to do was click on the link, and the
didn't
link
get
would
it.
have taken you to the application at Red River Planning.
I didn't get the blast because we're having issues with our emails, and I've just made arrangements with Lenny to get this corrected, so I didn't get no blast.
Okay, well, that's how we're, and I believe it's posted on our website as well. Is that correct?
Yes, and it is available on the Red River Planning website.
Yeah, and it's on our website.
So I guess if the, I don't know if the applicant wants to come up and respond, I don't know if
See if
they
there's
can.
anybody else.
Oh. Is there anyone else?
We also
Okay,
have
Mr.
Eleanor Blank registered for information.
I'm okay with.
You're okay?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Anyone, nothing, that's it then? Okay. So I don't know if you want to come up and respond to some of the concerns that they had. I know you can't do anything about number 8, but maybe clarify
Is it about the pizza?
the food, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we are planning to have, we're gonna start with finger foods, also
Okay.
pizza, chicken fingers, everything that the kids like and the parents like as well. So they'll have some space to have a personal time with the kids, you know, eating or whatever. So we'll have food area and the seating area there too. So.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. So now we'll get this one here. So we're gonna close, that be it resolved that council do hereby close the public hearing and resume the regular meeting of council. Could I have a mover, please? Councilor Bichetti moves, can I have a seconder? Councilor Clyber seconds it. Any questions, comments? None? Okay, can I call for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. We'll now go to the resolution. Whereas the applicant has applied for conditional use 2323 to allow any other commercial use not listed in order to develop an indoor play center at 997 Capitalist Drive in the CH Commercial Highway Zone. And whereas under the provisions of the Planning Act, a public hearing has been held to hear representation for and or against the conditional use application. Now therefore be it resolved that the rural municipality of West St. Paul approve a conditional use 2323 under the following conditions. That conditional use approval be limited to what is proposed within this application. Any changes in use will require a new conditional use approval. Applicant owner to obtain all required permits and approvals, included but not limited to those from the Red River Planning District, RM of West St. Paul, and Manitoba Infrastructure if required. The approval of the conditional use will expire and cease to have any effect if it is not acted upon within 12 months of the date of the decision. A board, council, or planning commission may extend the deadline under subsection 110-1 for the additional period of no longer than 12 months if an application is received before the initial deadline, and for a second period of no more than 12 months if an application is received before the expiry of the first extension. Could I have a mover, please?
Before we move, could I add a condition?
Sure, by all means.
If council so agrees that we add a condition that no parking, can we do this to the planner? Can we ask that there be, as part of the conditional use, there is no parking on Capitalist Drive?
No, the conditions have to relate to the property itself.
Okay, all right. So, but it does relate in a way because it's parking for that property.
Yeah, the conditions have to be, I guess, tied to the property. If you're talking about parking outside of the property boundaries, on Capitalist, that might be something that the RM can look into in terms of
Okay.
parking signs or something
All right,
like that.
thank you.
Okay. Councilor Campbell?
Councilor Clyburn, why don't we just say, the property must, be self-sustaining for parking, right? About that,
Yeah, it's the same kind of,
at least, you know, that's pertaining to the property, not to the, you know, not talking about parking on Capitalist.
can we do that?
That's more of our bylaw watching. Like
Yeah, I
that's
think we
our-
just
You
leave it the way
could,
it is.
there's still obviously the parking requirements in the zoning bylaw that they have to meet for the new building, the
Yeah.
number of spaces, that sort of thing.
I think Councilor Bisetti is worried that we would have parking spilling out onto Capitalist, which is a concern, because we do see that on other buildings. And instead of having to have our bylaw officer chase people down, if we had some sort of condition as part of the use that would kind of curb that.
I think of something off the top of my head, sorry.
I know, I can't think of anything on top of my head either, but we could come up with something.
Councilor Bichetti, you have something?
It's difficult on a multi-use building, right?
Yeah.
Who's to say who's using it, so you can't tie it to this one when there's multiple uses through the buildings. So-
Yeah, but this one would have more volume than any of the other uses. Just like the gymnasium, right?
But it's hard, again, it's hard to tie
Yeah.
it to one.
Okay, let's leave it.
User.
Yeah,
That's
the-
fine.
Sorry, Council, I was gonna say, the only thing I can think of that would be tied to the property, be tied to the proposal, and would be related to the volume of traffic that would come in, is if you limited either the number of people that could attend the property at any given time, but
Yeah.
then again, I
Which
don't know
would
if
not be
that's.
fair,
going
because
to-
if you come in with a van full of your relatives and go in there, you're still only taking one parking spot, right?
Right, yeah.
So,
No,
it's not
we
really
have to
fair.
look at
Okay,
it.
let's just leave it. We're gonna trust that these people will do what they're
Let's
going
close
to do.
it.
Can't comment anymore, but you know our concerns. Okay,
So can I call for?
I'll move it.
Move it, Councilor Bichetti moves,
I'll second.
Councilor Campbell seconds it.
Okay, sure enough.
Can I call, any questions, comments? None?
I'll just say thanks to the applicant for applying. I think it'll be a great venture. I
Yeah.
think there'll be a lot of people, you'll have explosive popularity. And I think you've heard our points regarding parking, so we certainly don't want to see an issue with regards to parking on Capitalist. So, and I think that you're nodding in support of that, so that's great to see, and we wish you the best.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments? None? Can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, carried.
Have a good night.
Okay, so now we'll go to the next step, 5.3. Be it resolved that this meeting of council recessed for the purpose of holding a public hearing pursuant to section 74(1) and the 125(2) of the Planning Act. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councilor Paxton moves, Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Any comments, questions? I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? Carried. Okay, so now we'll go to ask the planner to speak.
Yeah, so this is a combined hearing for the rezoning and the subdivision. The application number is a BL 2023-06P and the S23-3006. The location is 65 2nd Street and the unaddressed parcel roll number 407-000 and 401-000. The intent of this application is to rezone the subject lands from A80 agricultural zone to M2 heavy industrial zone to create 18 industrial lots ranging from 1.38 acres to 2.66 acres. This is the subject site, shows the surrounding area. And this is the subdivision application map as submitted to RRPD by the applicant, showing the subdivision and the lots being created. This is the M2 bulk regulation table. It shows if anybody is building a house or a structure in that zone. It shows what the setbacks are, or the height, and the minimum lot area and the lot width. RRPD analysis. RRP notes the following. The proposed subdivision application appears to meet the general intent of the development plan, the West St. Paul Employment Area Secondary Plan, and the zoning bylaw. The proposal will promote clustering of compatible industrial uses, create direct economic investment in West St. Paul, encourage flexibility in types of future industrial businesses, encourage a well-planned industrial environment through high-quality urban design standards. Aside from the general concerns from the Manitoba Environment Compliance and Enforcement about the potential effect of some heavy industrial uses on the surrounding area, other commenting agencies noted no concerns. This is the M1, M2 use table as per the West St. Paul zoning bylaw. I'm kind of putting this in front of council to see some of those uses that may not be compatible. A very good example here will be the washing establishment, which is more like a car wash, which is already a conditional use in that in the M2 zone. So basically what that means is if anybody is to apply for a car wash use today, it will come back to council for approval. The other use is heavy equipment sales and service, which might not be compatible. That one too requires a conditional use approval from council. And we have brick and concrete plants, which is a conditional use approval in the M2 zone 2. Recycling depot, including outside storage, requires a conditional use approval from council. Then we have truck operation and truck terminals, which may not be compatible. These two uses are permitted expressly in the M2 zone, and the council might want to limit those two through a development agreement if required. Zoning bylaw amendment applications approving criteria according as per the Planning Act must be generally consistent with the development plan. The zoning bylaw must also be consistent with the secondary plan. For the subdivision, approving criteria as per the Planning Act, the land must be suitable for the purpose of the subdivision, conform to the development plan, must conform to the secondary plan, conform to the zoning bylaw, and conform to the provincial subdivision regulations. For RRPD recommendation, for the rezoning, RRPD recommends approval subject to the applicant entry into a development agreement with the RM to address the following: building, landscaping, buffering, access, drainage, water and sewer services, garbage, and business park road improvement. For the subdivision, RRPD recommends that the application could be approved with the 6 conditions including the RM of West and Port requirements regarding payment of taxes, levies, lot grading, building access, etc., including a development agreement. Confirmation from Drainage and Water Licensing Office that all requirements have been met. Confirmation of easement agreement from Central Gas. Confirmation of easement agreement from Shore Communications. Confirmation from Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation that sufficient information has been provided. An applicant owner obtains approval from council for the associated rezoning application. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Kleiber, a question?
Mayor, I'm
for the
just
planner?
wondering if there's any counselors that would like to declare conflict of interest. I know we have one counselor that manages some property for the applicant. Do they want to declare a conflict of interest at this point or not?
Hearing none, okay, carry on.
Just a question to
Good,
the
you
planner.
go.
Question just to the planner. I'm looking through this, sorry, there's a lot of stuff here. Is it 2 sides or 3 sides? Around the building, what's the zoning? Around the, property? I know there was a chart somewhere in here, but I'm flipping back and forth. It's just-
It's in your report, you might wanna bring up the air photo and stuff.
Okay.
Just give us a moment, we'll just bring up the GIS mapping.
Yeah, it's just too many different
Yeah.
charts and stuff through it.
Just some M1 and M2 zoning in the area as well, so
Yeah.
that way.
So surrounding the area is we have a M2, M1, and their properties.
Okay, so 2 of the 3 sides is M2 already. Yeah. That's all, thank you.
Okay, Councilor Kleiber?
I have a couple of questions. On proposed lot number 11, there are some lines that say 71, 72, 73, and 74, and 75. What is that?
Sorry, do you want to ask?
Proposed lot 11.
Oh,
Right-hand corner.
so these are separate separate parcels, and
It's what?
it's not. They are separate parcel lots, which
They're
is
lots?
which is not part of this application.
Those
It's
little-
not part of the subdivision?
Those
No.
little tiny ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not part of this. It's under different ownership.
Well, what is it then?
Just remnant parcels that are existing there.
Are they owned by the applicant?
I don't think so. No.
You'll notice there's a similar situation on lot 6 of the proposed lot. If you look north on that towards Addis, there's another couple little historical remnant parcels that exist there that aren't part of this application. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not one big continuous rectangle. There's a
And-
couple little pieces that are taken out.
Is there only one entrance and exit here?
So the way it's been proposed, there is an entrance on the 2nd Street, and the applicant is showing another entrance going on to Addis. Though
To where?
Sorry, to Drury Road, but I must say that Drury Road is undeveloped at this time.
Does the applicant own Drury, the property adjacent to Drury Avenue? They own the property on Drury Avenue?
You mean to the south?
Yeah. You can't propose a road there if you don't own the property.
It's right away though.
Like, how would you put a road there?
Let's just
An
bring up
exit
the-
there.
Bring up the air photo in your presentation.
Oh, okay.
It's a previous slide.
Councilor Kleiber, just for, I think on one of them it showed that it was a right
This
away,
one?
municipal
Yep.
right away.
It's a right of way, but it's not a,
So there's a right-of-way immediately south of the property, but it's an undeveloped
Developed.
right-of-way. So it exists on paper, but it hasn't been paved or made for vehicles yet. And I think
okay,
it's
so it's not really an exit then?
not at this time, no.
No.
Perhaps
So
the
we have one
applicant-
entrance and one exit then?
Yeah,
right?
perhaps the applicant can
Yeah,
address
okay.
of
That's
how
what I
they're going
needed to
to
know. Okay.
manage that.
And one of the things you said in your presentation that I read was that council can, in the development agreement, indicate types of businesses they don't want to see on these 18 lots. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for the planner? None? Just could I have the applicant come forward?
Thank you. Pam, do you have the PowerPoint presentation? Have it? Okay. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna go grab the remote control and then I'll be right back.
Ms. Lim, you're acting on behalf of the applicant, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So does the applicant want to come sit beside you, or just in case we have questions for the
They
applicant?
definitely can, yeah, because they'll be presenting.
We'll be right here,
Yeah, we'll move into
Oh, I'm getting stiff. All
So
right.
I just gotta ask the question, so I guess, if, should the applicant have to give their names too, because, if we're gonna be asking them questions?
If they wish to speak at the same time, they should, yes.
Yeah, so,
Did you want to give your names and addresses now? Is that okay? Yeah, okay. Good,
so,
good.
we won't be able to ask you questions then, you understand that?
Not at the moment.
But if we
No,
ask,
we'll be
they're
interjecting.
registered, I think, they can speak in favor or against or whatever.
Mr. We might
yeah.
have questions for you specifically.
We will be coming into the presentation at some point, but we'll
Okay.
want Jennifer to go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, then
Right.
you should register now, your name, and that's what they're saying.
Yeah, if you just
They're-
want to
they're
give your name and
registered.
address, so that when I do it, then that way we're in, so,
If you don't
yeah.
mind.
So
Yeah.
my name and address is Jennifer Lim. I'm at 31 Lakebourne Drive in Winnipeg.
Okay,
Tony Texera, 246 River Road, St. Andrews, Manitoba.
okay,
Tony Bergini, 712 Addis Avenue, West St. Paul.
okay. Good, go
Thank
ahead.
you so much. Okay, so thank you, Council and Administration, for the opportunity to present in support of the application to rezone and subdivide a combined 34.3 acres of land located in the heart of the municipality's industrial business park, collectively known as 65 Second Street. As you heard, the applications to rezone and subdivide aligns with provisions under the development plan bylaw, the secondary plan bylaw, and the zoning bylaw. Thank you to Mr. Ojo of the Planning District for his presentation of our applications and for the recommendation to council to grant second reading and to approve the subdivision. Oh, good, it does work. Okay, so as not everyone on council is familiar with who I am, I'd like to take a moment to introduce myself. I am a registered professional planner and the founder of Threshold Planning Studio. Threshold Planning Studio has been contracted by the municipality on 2 occasions, once to assist in the adoption of the ward boundary bylaw and once to assist on a zoning bylaw update specific to the serviced area, plus to address some matters of housekeeping and the incorporation of policies for storage containers and signage. Today, I'm here to represent DGB Holdings and Tex Group in this application to rezone and subdivide 65 Second Street. My representation in support of their applications does not present a conflict of interest. I'm here today to present some facts to council and to highlight some important considerations in terms of overall development. The presentation will take roughly 30 minutes and it will be done by myself, Mr. Tony Berganini, and Mr. Tony Texera. I plan to present the following facts for council's consideration. First, a brief background of relevant information. Second, I'll highlight the key physical constraints for the property's development. Third, I'll describe what we heard from council when my clients bid for the lands under an expression of interest last summer. And I'll also describe outreach made to the adjacent landowner and discuss related changes made to the proposal to develop the lands. I plan to answer questions asked by council at first reading. Then Mr. Tony Berganini and Mr. Tony Texera will present to council and describe their respective businesses' impacts on development in West St. Paul's Industrial Business Park. And finally, I'll conclude with a summary of why the applications to rezone and subdivide should be approved. So with no further delay, let's start with some important background information. In the summer of 2022, my clients bid for and were awarded the unaddressed parcel of land that sits immediately adjacent to 65 Second Street as part of an overall expression of interest. The unaddressed property highlighted with a yellow polygon was formerly a compilation of several titles. If one looks closely at the original layout of lots, both Coots Avenue and Rossmore Avenue were closed and consolidated into the larger holdings that currently exist. With that consolidation subdivision application that was made years ago, the municipality also made an application to rezone the large lots into M2. Lots that size would have been highly desirable to a seed plant, trucking terminal, or trucking operation that would have been a permitted use if the zoning was granted, which is most likely why the council of the day unanimously turned down the rezoning application, but approved the consolidation subdivision. Without rezoning, the lands cannot be developed, as the A80 zone is, and I quote, intended to conserve land for general agricultural activities, end quote, and that comes from your zoning bylaw. The general agricultural activities do not comply with the designations endorsed under the secondary plan and the development plan bylaws. Next, I want to highlight some key physical constraints with the land's existing layout. First and foremost, both Drury Avenue and Addis Avenue are undeveloped right-of-ways that do not meet industrial right-of-way width standards. The standard is 80 feet and is currently 33 feet for Addis and 25 feet for Drury. The Addis Avenue right-of-way allowance has already been truncated at 37 Merritt Crescent. When lots along Merritt Crescent were developed, that portion of the undeveloped Addis Avenue right-of-way was closed by the municipality, and therefore Addis Avenue cannot connect through to St. Paul Boulevard as originally planned. Widening Addis Avenue to the required 80 feet by gifting lands from my client's property would only serve to bring Addis to a dead end or to produce offsets in the road if continued through to St. Paul Boulevard. Plus, there is the problem of a parcel of lands not owned by my clients. Similarly, the undeveloped right-of-way for Drury Avenue, found along the south property line, aligns through to St. Paul Boulevard. Numbers 39 and 42 Merritt Crescent. There's two unaddressed parcels a little bit further to the east that's not shown on this map, but you'll see it shortly. And number 42 St. Paul Boulevard effectively create a firm line for the location of Drury Avenue's potential future road development. Widening Drury Avenue to the required 80-foot width by gifting lands from my client's property would again either create another dead end or produce an offset in future road alignments, plus there remains the problem of a group of parcels not owned by my clients. As it stands, 2nd Street is the only developed road providing access to the property. The vision shown to council during the expression of interest last summer was for a cul-de-sac development proposing a 17-lot industrial use development. This proposal did not include consideration of any connection to a future road network. Council expressed a desire for local road connectivity. I want to give this council more information on what we heard and describe the local outreach made to discuss any readiness for road development. So this is the area in question, and while it's not directly related to the application, I want to show council that my clients have considered how the subdivision proposal could benefit the development of this area that held council's interest. I've highlighted the key intersection points with yellow that council wanted connected. 65 2nd Street is highlighted in orange, with the new road shown as a deep red line that we're proposing. The portion of Drury that would need to be developed is shown in a bright red dashed line. The two lots, highlighted in the green-blue shade, are currently without developed road access. A road connecting the two yellow dots to the proposed secondary access will need to involve the lands immediately south of the Drury Avenue right-of-way. My clients do not own these lands. I called the adjacent landowner in March, and we corresponded by email into April to seek if there was interest in developing the roads that would mutually benefit the overall development of the subject lands, their holdings, and this localized area within the industrial business park. We provided 3 surveyor sketches to the adjacent landowner, including the cul-de-sac option shown during the expression of interest. The left-hand option on this slide showed one potential way that development might be accomplished by mutually developing Addis and Drury. However, this option produces potential problems with dead-end roads or road alignments, and there remains the problem of lands not owned. The third option, being the one formalized for this application, was a potential middle ground, so that if the adjacent landowner was not ready to develop the roads required to subdivide the lots, then my clients could still proceed and would commit to providing an access point to the south lot line. This future connection point provides an option for future road connectivity desired by council under the expression of interest. With our road system, there is no need for Drury to connect through to Second, and that portion of the right-of-way, shown with a purple polygon, can be sold to the adjacent landowner to add to their overall holding. This proposal allows the adjacent landowner to retain almost 2 acres of land and avoid development of this portion of Drury that would otherwise become a redundant road. We asked the adjacent landowner if feedback on the 3 options could be given. We had notified my client's imminent desire to make formal application. We made clear that we needed to move forward, and we maintained an open door policy welcoming any engagement. Formal application to the Planning Authority was submitted on April 27th. On June 8th, the bylaw related to the proposed development was given first reading. During that council meeting, questions were asked, including why my clients were seeking M2 zoning as opposed to M1, whether a semi-truck could make a turnaround on the proposed road system, and if there was secondary access available as Drury is undeveloped. Before I answer those questions, I want to confirm that the public hearing notice was posted on the property July 17th. And shortly thereafter, we made direct outreach to the adjacent landowner to seek if they had support for or feedback on our application. The adjacent landowner was gracious in his response and thanked me for directly notifying him. Plus, we had provided the subdivision application map as it was not yet made available on the RRPD website. The following day, the adjacent landowner explained by email that they were not getting involved at this time as they were not sure of the direction for development they wanted to pursue with their holdings. We sent confirmation of the posting to the RRPD on 3 occasions. As such, we have met with the legislated requirements for public notice. Finally, prior to answering the questions from first reading, I want to briefly discuss Reference Map 5 found under the Secondary Plan bylaw, as I became aware in July that this map was causing confusion. Reference Map 5 shows a concept of internal road development and suggested lot layout. This concept plan does not mirror our proposal. Often these maps get confused as prescribing a specific road layout. However, under Section 2.1 sub 4 of that same bylaw, it states, and I quote, "The indication of any proposed roads or infrastructure in policy text or on the concept plan map will not be interpreted as final," end quote. In this sentence, the active verb is will and not may. Therefore, it's mandatory wording, not suggestive. The concept map will not be interpreted as final. It then goes on to say, and I quote again, "Adjustments do not require an amendment to the secondary plan." So 65 Second Street is not the first area of land to deviate from that reference map. This is an approved 10-lot plan with road development for 3rd Street and Eames Road that was approved by council in and around 2014, 3 years after the secondary plan bylaw was adopted. Prior to subdivision being approved by council, both JMT and DGB invested in the development of these lands. I've outlined the lands owned by JMT Holdings in orange. When we overlay Reference Map 5 with the approved plan of subdivision from 2014, it becomes clear that council was not obligated to approve what was shown on Reference Map 5 when detailed development plans are proposed. The lands owned by JC Paving, outlined in yellow, and the lands owned by MAC Holdings, outlined in red, were also further developed since 2011 when the secondary plan was adopted. We can see that the secondary plan indicates a road will be located within the red polygon and suggests the orientation, size, and number of lots. When the current air photo is overlaid, it becomes clear that lands were approved for development that did not mirror the concept found under the secondary plan. Therefore, it can be shown that the road network suggested on reference map 5 has not been interpreted by council to be strictly applied. Council has understood section 2.1 sub 4 of the secondary plan, that the concept plan must not be interpreted as final and no secondary plan amendment is required when development proposals are made. Council has made a conscious decision to abandon the suggested road network layout, so the reference map is not relevant to the applications. Now I would like to address the questions asked at first reading. The first question wanted to know why the applicants were selecting M2 when there's relatively few differences between the M1 and M2 zoning classifications. To answer that question, it's really simple. Outdoor storage for contractors' establishments is a permitted use. Sometimes, though, it's better to give some background to give the simple answer some grounding. So first, let's talk about the different use types available under the M2 versus the M1 in relation to the 18-lot subdivision. Second, let's talk about permitted uses versus conditional uses. And finally, let's place that understanding in context of the purpose of the municipality's industrial park and the intentions for its development. Of the 50 primary uses listed under the industrial use table, there are relatively few differences between the M2 and M1, 6 in fact, shown on the slide above. My clients are proposing 18 lots that are not large enough to attract the development of a seed cleaning plant, a truck operation, or a truck terminal. These lots are sized for a variety of contractors' establishments. For contractors' establishments, outdoor storage is typically a necessary component to their operations. The M2 is specifically intended for this use to be permitted. The M1 is not. Under the M1, outdoor storage for contractors' establishments is a conditional use. 65 2nd Street is located in the core of the industrial business park. The lands are not peripheral and therefore are not highly visible. Permitted uses provide less roadblocks to development in the industrial park, and contractors will still need to adhere to any outdoor storage requirements under the zoning bylaw and under a development agreement attached to the approval of my client's applications. It's important to recognize the real competitive advantage to the industrial business park's location. Its purpose is to promote industrial use growth in a focused economic cluster that won't conflict with other use types and that will bring investment and wealth to this municipality. These lands, assessed as farmland at the lowest mill rate, have sat vacant for long enough. If a contractor's establishment can place outdoor storage on the proposed lots, it saves time and money and eliminates the risk of being denied. With conditional uses, there is always a chance that they could be denied. When lands are rezoned, the Act provides council the ability to require a development agreement to ensure properties are developed in a way that protects municipal interest. So the next two questions asked at first reading wanted to know if a semi-truck can make a turnaround and questioned if secondary access was being made available. And before I answer those questions, I need to provide some background on regulatory language related to road development. So in Manitoba, when municipalities do not specify road development standards under their zoning bylaw, the subdivision regulation, Schedule B, is to be observed by planning authorities. Road development standards are specified under Section 3 of that schedule. The maximum length of a cul-de-sac or a dead-end road is only regulated when the proposed road is for residential use development. Secondary access is desirable. However, the regulation provides under Section 6, and I quote, "Where compliance with Section 3 or 4 of this schedule would be unreasonable or impractical, an application which substantially complies with the requirements of those sections may be approved," end quote. The above proposal substantially complies with both Sections 3 and 4, and it is not practical to force adjacent landowners into developing roads that would otherwise complete secondary access. When the adjacent landowners are ready, our proposal affords opportunity for the internal road system to be extended and connected through to Eames Road and to suitably develop portions of Drury Road east through to Merritt Crescent and St. Paul Boulevard. Any cul-de-sac turnaround, if developed now, would become redundant in future, and it's not a requirement under the subdivision regulation. So to answer the questions, a semi-truck trailer unit can make a turnaround. However, it will be on properties developed to an industrial use standard. And presently, there is no secondary access, but there is potential once adjacent lands are ready for development. I want to bring council back to the image of the concept that was shown to council under the expression of interest, with the knowledge that DGB and Tex Group had a plan to develop the lands in the immediate future. The vote to sell the 10 acres to DGB and Tex Group was unanimous. The development concept evolved to consider road connectivity to adjacent lands that won't unnecessarily delay the development of the 34.3 acres, bringing related tax revenue into the municipality. To give council monetary context, the pre-development value of lots developed by DGB and Tex Group was in and around $250,000. The full build-out value is between $2 to $3 million. At the highest mill rate, this is money in your pockets in the very near future. For the 18-lot proposal, industrial development will substantially increase municipal portion tax revenue on these lands and will serve to offset burdens on residential ratepayers, plus provide diverse employment opportunities in an area specifically designated as an industrial business park. I now want to give my clients an opportunity to introduce themselves and provide some examples of how the industrial business park has been impacted by their respective developments. After they're done, I'll provide some concluding remarks and take any questions from council. All right, Tony, you can go first. Okay. I will operate the clicker.
Good evening, Council and the Mayor. Good evening. My name is Tony Berganini. So I'm just going to give you a quick, brief history DGB, but just before that, because I'm not familiar with some of the councilors here, because it's a new faces. I lived in West St. Paul for about 45 years. My family currently resides in West St. Paul. We've operated our businesses out of West St. Paul for about 25 years, and we're currently in the West St. Paul Business Park. That's where we're currently operating under. Myself, I am the owner of DGB Holdings, and I am the president, and there's no other employees. And just to clarify, Mrs. Kleiber, there's no member of council that manages any properties for DGB Holdings. Just want to be clear on that. So,
Is DGB Holdings the only applicant here?
no, but I'm just saying, for myself, I just want to clarify, I am the sole owner and the only employee for DGB Holdings. DGB Holdings, I was formerly part of MAC Holdings when we did our first subdivision, and then opened up DGB Holdings because I had a partner at the time. So I am the sole owner of DGB Holdings. Our first crack at the West St. Paul Industrial Park was the 4-lot subdivision that was shown earlier. We changed that from agricultural to heavy industrial estated. The second venture that we went into, I partnered up with Tony Texera, which is JMT Holdings, and we did a 10-lot subdivision. Once again, that was agricultural, and we zoned that to M2 heavy industrial. DGB Holdings owns property in the industrial park as part of that initial subdivision. 58 2nd Street, which is a new build that a couple years ago, it's 5,500 square feet. We'll have pictures of that coming up shortly. And that's currently occupied by OB1 Contracting. The lot adjacent to it, which is 42 2nd Street, he also occupies that lot for outdoor storage. And the third property is 45 3rd Street, which is occupied by United Rentals, which is a national company across North America. And we're currently putting a new build up on that location. I'm going to speak about some of the development that went on the 10-lot subdivision. That was the most recent completion. Omar's Environmental, which is now changed over to GFL. GFL currently occupies that property, and they are, again, a national company throughout North America. So this property here is Omar's Environmental. As far as my understanding goes, this property is fully leased, and as you can see, it's a very well structured building, as is Omar's Environmental. Those are tilt-up precast buildings.
Mayor, may I have a point of order? Can you tell me how this relates to this application? I know you own all these things and it's great.
No.
You've done lots of development. but how is this pertaining to this application?
Okay, well, I think it's important that as a developer, that develop property in industrial park, to show how our development, what has become of it. I think that's important to show that our credibility with the work we've done, the people we have attracted to the industrial park.
Okay.
We have not used any real estate agents to sell our properties. We've seeked out, we've talked to people in the industry, and we've brought big businesses into the industrial park. We want to show the development that's gone on and the standards that we set.
Okay, well, I would just say, Mayor, that I'd like you to talk about what's going to happen here. That's what I'm more concerned about. I understand you've done that, you've done a great job on your developments. Well, I think all of us at the table know about your developments, but what are you doing here?
Okay, well, let's,
I'd like to hear what Mr. Burgundy needs to say.
yeah, I think there's history. Some people don't know how developers are, how they came about, what they have done. They maybe haven't driven through the industrial park to visually see these, so unless there's any objections to me moving forward, I think I would like to continue with my slide.
I would like to know about your company. 'cause I
Okay.
don't know.
Okay.
I'm saying with Patrick
Okay.
Council.
Thank you. So we brought in WWF Construction, and this goes back to the contractor's establishment. WWF owns 2 parcels of land there. The building is on 1 parcel, and the second parcel he uses for outdoor storage. So when we talk about the theme that was mentioned by Jennifer, we talk about outdoor storage because it's, these people move to West St. Paul because they need more land, they need that storage space to operate their businesses. So a prime example of that is WWF. He's building on one side, and he's got a storage on the second side of the property. Can we move on to the next slide? This building is currently owned by myself, and I think what's important here too, as a developer, when you're invested in the developments, it shows that you want to make sure that the people that surround your developments are of that same standard. And as we can see clearly, this is a building that's going up. Currently, right now, it's at 45 3rd Street. This is going to be occupied by United Rentals. It's a brand-new build. It mimics what's going on there. It's a precast tilt-up building. It's over 12,000 square feet. This one had come before council recently. This is ADR Homes. That's a fairly large building. You guys are familiar with that, so I won't get into that too much. And this is one of my other buildings. This was our first subdivision. This is 58 2nd Street. This is OB1 Contracting, large contracting. Same similar scenario. Building on one side that he occupies, the adjacent lot is used for that outdoor storage. OB1, he's a resident of West St. Paul, and he's glad that he's running his business in the community and had the opportunity to find something to lease. So that's kind of where we're at as far as the buildings that we have. Jennifer?
Yeah, for sure. And then we'll let Tony
Yes.
check Saratoga?
Yeah. I'll stay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. I'm just going to get into a little brief. Won't take too long. Again, the Tex Group, or our group of companies, was established in 1977 and has been proudly serving and partnering with municipalities throughout our province since establishing our main headquarters at 3000 Main in West St. Paul in 1987. We've continued our investment in West St. Paul and surrounding RMs in the city of Winnipeg, along with others that have helped attract businesses and residents alike through our developments. 4-lot subdivision RM St. Paul in the Business Park, including the rezoning of the lands in agricultural and heavily industrial. 10-lot subdivision that I did with the DGB Holdings and RM of West St. Paul, including the rezoning of lands from agricultural to heavy industrial. JMT and in partnership with DGB Holdings have completed the subdivision, and as we speak, as Mr. Burgundy has showed you, that all these the development of these lots are well underway, and some have already been developed, and others are in the process of doing so. JMT and DGB have now partnered also on this 24-acre parcel with the adjacent piece that was purchased, which is over 10 acres from the RM last year, and that's the purpose of our meeting here tonight. 58 2nd Street, a new construction of a 5,500 square foot commercial building. Oh, hang on, with DGB Holdings. Sorry, I repeated that.
Moving on to
here. Moving on to here. Sorry. So at 22nd Street, which we did was our first building on on the land that's owned by JMT Holdings solely. We have a national client in there, which is Green Drop. We have two a repair shop, which is Pacific Truck. Oops, sorry, and another repair shop was adjacent to, which is KBL. The other building occupied at 22nd Street is SureSeal, occupies that, and they are a multinational corporation, and they are utilizing this as a warehouse. And the building at 201 Zeems Road, even though this was an earlier picture, this has since been fully leased, and we have a variety of businesses in there. One is there is a trucking firm who does their repairs from there. There is a truck repair shop, and there is a gentleman who makes stairs as well.
All right, thank you so much, Tony and Tony.
Go ahead.
Can I just ask Mr. Texter a question, just to make it equal?
Yes.
Is there anyone on this council that,
I was going to get to
works
that.
for,
Yeah.
does work for you or manages any of your properties?
Absolutely not.
Just to make it fair,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted. Okay.
I have some questions for Mr. Texter.
Okay.
And for Mr. Berganini. So you applied for this M2, from what I'm gathering, principally for contractors, establishments, and outdoor storage being permitted. Is that primarily why you wanted M2?
Correct.
Okay. You're not interested in seed cleaning plants going up there?
Absolutely
And you're not
not.
interested in trucking terminals going
No,
up or
no.
truck operations? So if we put that in your development agreement, that those would not be allowed, you wouldn't have a problem with that?
The seed operation, trucking terminal, I mean, those properties are too small regardless, so I wouldn't have a problem. I'd
Then
like
I have
to-
one more question for you.
Oh.
You have, when I look at your lots, they're all different sizes. Why
Mhm.
did you have a lot at 1.39 and then have a really big lot at 2.54?
Well, that just, different businesses have different needs. So whether you're going to be something that's going to be completely enclosed with a building and then don't require as much outdoor storage, you might be a business who requires a little bit more of the outdoor storage, and this way you give a wide range. It's no different than when you move into a residential development and they provide a number of lots, size lots for depending on what your goals are, what you want to build in the area.
So you're saying these 2.54 lots, those ones are more or less going to be you're hoping?
Well, I mean, it's
You're hoping, I mean,
sure.
like.
We don't know, but
Conceptually,
Yeah.
you want to have like contractors, establishments in those bigger lots, right?
Yeah, I'll intercept here. And why we did this is when we ran our first subdivision with the 10 lot development, what happened was Omar's Environmental, for instance, where he placed his building, he initially bought 3 lots. And then he had to amalgamate 2 lots because the property sizes weren't big enough. So some people, smaller contractors, establishments, they need that smaller lot because that's what they can afford and that's what their business is relative to. Larger operations, WWF, Omar's Environmental, they need more space. And sometimes we found that instead of making all these small lots, then they have to come back to council, they got to amalgamate the lots, and they have to go through this whole process. So our thought process was make some bigger lots for businesses that are larger and they want that larger size. So we have some flexibility in what we're offering to clients. So that's the reason for the different segments and lot sizes, because we found last time it was redundant and then they ended up amalgamating or just causing them some grief. So we'll make some larger ones. If the clients, they have a 2-point-something acre lot, they may want to subdivide it and make a smaller one. They'll have those options. So flexibility within the industrial park.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions.
Okay, you're okay with me finishing off? Yes. Mostly redundant, just hitting the message back home.
Should we go from there?
Yeah, I can go right from here. You guys can hear me all just fine, right? Okay,
I'll
don't
keep
go
you
there.
company.
All right, wow. So, in summary, both DGB Holdings and Tex Group have a collective 60 years of incorporation developing properties in and around West St. Paul and the capital region of Manitoba. Their companies are locally based and have a vested interest in West St. Paul. They also have an ethic of developing available lands now so they can start contributing to the municipal tax base. Lands are developed to a standard that West St. Paul expects of their industrial business park. The proposal to rezone and subdivide complies with policy and regulation, provides future road connectivity, and does not produce any conflict of use, as the lands are located in the heart of the industrial business park. Mr. Texera, were there any last words you wanted to add?
Well,
In
no,
support?
I just wanted to say that, you know, I think it's important, it's like I said, really the major activity that's happened in this industrial park as of late has been either Tony or myself. We've brought significant, the numbers are there for everyone to look up, we've brought significant tax revenues to the RM. We've brought people, local people here. There's been businesses that have located in this business park, and they've moved to West St. Paul to be near their businesses, and so there's that economic spin-off from having them living in RRM, and again, this is good for the ratepayers, as you know, the broader the tax base, the more revenues, then it can be downloaded and offset to the businesses and less of a burden on the residents.
Thank you. And Mr. Burgundy, anything you wanted just to add before
I'll
we're
talk
done?
about the development itself. I've fielded a lot of phone calls over the last couple of years. A lot of people that currently are in the industrial purchase property office, and people that were considering buying it just didn't have the funds at the time when we did our 10-lot subdivision, because it sold fairly quickly. So we have a lineup of people that are willing to move into the industrial park. I fielded numerous calls, and they're wanting to put down payments, but obviously we have a process to go through. And once we get there, I think you'll see that this industrial park will sell up fairly quickly. And those people, like the current development that we did, the buildings will start to rise. So.
Good. Well, we want to thank you for your time in hearing our presentation in support of the application. If there's any other questions, we'd be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Does council have any questions?
Not at this time.
Oh, not at this time. Okay. Thank you. Do we have any applicants for the?
We don't have anyone else registered in support.
Okay. Anyone against?
In opposition, in opposition and for information, we have Eleanor Link.
Okay.
Yeah, Eleanor Link, 1045 Toshack Road. First of all, I would like to compliment Councillor Kleiber for drawing attention for the need for councillors to be aware that a business relationship with any applicant is a reason to recuse. That's doing other councillors a favor, providing a nice reminder of a serious
I
responsibility.
just got a point of order. If there was someone on council that they would have recused themselves, there isn't any. I just, for the respect of everyone on council, there's no one in conflict or has to recuse.
May I
It's up-
continue?
I would prefer that you don't, because it's disrespectful to, we're sitting here listening to you, but they would have declared if there was anything, so.
Well,
Mr. Mayor?
I think we'll just turn.
I have a point though, because there's other kinds of instances which should result in a councillor recusing.
But I think.
And that is, friendship. Long-term friendship can be a perceived bias on the part of a councillor towards an applicant.
Excuse me.
Public hearing is a legislated requirement. We are allowed to have
Excuse me.
members
When a point of order is
free.
made, you need to stop speaking.
So, just to clarify, is that the councillor asked for a point of, if there was any conflict, it is up to the councillors to determine.
Correct.
If there is a conflict of interest. They have understood it, they're aware of it. If there is found to be a conflict of interest, then they have violated it, and then we would be able to deal with it. The two applicants have pointed out that there is no councillors that are trained with them, and all council here is aware of what a conflict of interest is, be it perceived, biased, or actual, so.
That's
to
very
go-
good to know.
No, but to go into this is no longer necessary.
Okay,
so if
thank
have-
you.
okay.
Mayor?
So, thank you very
if
much.
I may, I asked the question, and Mrs. Link is correct, to protect our council.
That is, all right, they are all able to protect themselves, so, I mean,
That hasn't been the case in previous councils,
that
sir.
that was previous council,
And it's
so
a responsibility of council members to help one another.
that is understandable, so.
Good.
I do
Okay.
appreciate your comments, but I guess if you have a question. or-
Okay, I think this application is premature. The roads are not, it's not clear when these roads can be developed so that there is two accesses, which is the safe thing to do, especially when you're dealing with very large vehicles and semis. There's no turnaround space for a semi provided. That's one thing. We don't know who will take responsibility for paying for the road once the other owners that are adjacent to that road perhaps change their mind and agree that they agree to the development and perhaps selling their properties. We don't know that yet. And who's going to pay for the road development? The road development in the business park is gravel. And it's dusty, and those roads now are outdated for the amount of traffic that's already coming in. Never mind the traffic that 18 more businesses would produce. 18 lots, 18 more businesses, perhaps more. And I do want to compliment and hope that councillors do perhaps consider putting into the conditions, not just the DA, the types of businesses that are not going to be condoned. And the reason I say that is years ago, a number of years ago, one of the applicants was looking to establish a concrete plant, batch plant, in the business park. But there were many conditions imposed by Manitoba Conservation. A lot of time has passed, and it could be that those conditions could have been met now, and perhaps Conservation has issued a license for the developer for a concrete batch plant. Perhaps that's one of the businesses that's planning on being established. So I would really like to see that type of business not be condoned by this council. Also, a concrete batch plant would require a lot of water. And I know that one of the applicants has, because I filled out a FIPA form and asked for all the MOUs, I know who's got equivalent residential units that they could use to bring in water to their establishment. Even though the RM is building a new reservoir, will a business that's going to consume a lot of water have the potential to consume a lot of water at the expense, perhaps, of others? I think it's worth a caution. And I'm wondering if the RM, Mr. Mayor, I read, I believe, in the planner's report that the RM calls for money to improve the business park when they're making their DAs. And I'm wondering how much money has been collected over the years by the RM for the road improvements. That should be looked at. If they've been collecting money over the years, where is it and what are the plans for it? And I wondered why the fire department was not called in to, by Red River Planning District, to comment on this particular setup in terms of safety. Thank you.
Oh, hold on, I have a question.
Okay.
You do realize there already is a concrete batch plant in the business park?
Not being used too much, that's beside the point.
No, what's beside the point is that there is one there already, right?
I'm
So
not here
just-
to argue with you,
I'm
Councillor
just
Campbell.
making sure that you knew there was already one
I know
there.
there is one,
Oh, okay,
and
perfect.
we don't need another. Thank you.
Any other ones? Any other ones for the town?
Also in opposition is Dan Garcia.
Someone forget their phone here?
Oh, yes, that's mine, sorry. Recording, is it? No, it's not recording. I think he was recorded anyway.
This is all recorded.
Yeah.
New Age. Thank you for allowing me to speak here.
Your name and address.
Dan Garcia, 100 St. Paul Boulevard. I'm going to try to just brief on some of the points here, to some questions, some comments. I also have a lot of history in the industrial park. Was a part of just about every building or business that was designed or developed on the first phases. And also aware of a lot of the issues that have been trying to deal with over the years. The initial, I guess, original industrial park, it's got 14 businesses or lots. So just to put it into perspective on the size, the number one issue that I see here is this road. So to compare it to the existing issues, I see that this is really creating the exact same issue again with St. Paul Boulevard turning onto Merritt, onto a dead end. So the road has no turnaround at the end of it. I spoke to the businesses near there. They're always having to deal with semis and trucks and whatnot, trying to pull into their driveways, and then because by the time you go in, there's no warning and it's too late, and you got nowhere to go from there. It too is something that everyone tried to resolve for 25 plus years now, because it wasn't done properly to begin with. So I don't understand how something like this could be proposed with simply an idea that it'll be dealt with in the future, and by who exactly? What is being put in place specifically to try to get the second access or the access out? That, I guess, road allowance, what they call it, the Drury, it's 25 feet wide. I mean, it's a sidewalk allowance. It's not near a road allowance, so you have to deal with getting to the 80 feet. So the question I have is, if this is a self-sustained development, without creating any more issues to the industrial park, why wouldn't it have an internal full U road in and out around the perimeter of it? And then you can also use the right-of-ways, which on Addis is actually a little bit wider. I think the planner mentioned 33 feet or so. So you have that to work with. Maybe there's other issues. This is not the place to design or plan necessarily. This is what's proposed, and I think there's a lot of issues with just allowing an 80-foot road allowance with a one-way and a dead end. It just doesn't It just doesn't make any sense other than possibly to fit in as many lots as possible and access to them. Because you also have a couple of those I guess, separate minor or small, tiny river type lots. I don't know what they are, but obviously couldn't get a hold of the owners or something. That's how this whole thing was. I mean, it's been assembled and then sold, and you know, it's actually still two parcels, I believe. It's not even assembled into one, and the back one that the RM had doesn't even have road access. So again, those two strips can't really be called road allowances because it's impossible to develop them as roads. So although there might have been, you know, some ideas, if they don't work, then for whatever reasons, I wasn't involved in discussions or the ideas on what could have or couldn't work, but I don't see how this is, you know, the net. And no disrespect to anybody, I'm not trying to necessarily just criticize a design here, but there's a lot more that has to be considered, and trying to get, even for emergency in and out. An 80-foot road allowance, that's the same as a residential one. We got a 10-lot subdivision. The road's, you know, 20-some feet wide. That's not the road. That's not the road width. It's just the total allowance with, I'm assuming, ditches. There's no curb and gutter here or land drainage. It's ditches. So same thing. There's no allowance for any drainage ponds or methods of doing that. I know I was told there'll be a drainage study. I get it, but that's after this is approved. So you're very limited to what you can do. I mean, you're not going to take a lot out at something that has to be allowed for in public reserve now. So if there's an idea, just like the many residential subdivisions that have drainage ponds incorporated into them, knowing you have to deal with the drainage, because this all would have to come back all the way down one way to 2nd Street, which is you know, a really poor ditch and gravel road. So again, all this traffic onto 2nd, which is not an industrial standard road. You know, when we compare it to, say, the Brookside Industrial Park or anything in Centerport or by the city. So again, I'd really like to know how that dead end would be addressed. There's definitely no plan in place unless someone should reveal, if there is a plan to get to St. Paul or Merritt, that yes, the adjacent owners in the RM should know about. And since adopting the secondary plan again, it states that there should be a new zoning bylaw. We're still referring to using the M1 and M2 comparisons from the existing one. There's been minor updates, but in that secondary plan, it talks about having, this has been talked about since its concept, and then even way before it's even adopted, is having a zoning bylaw very specific to the business part. And I don't think that's ever happened. Is there going to be water and sewer? You know, there's a lot of the business there would love to see sewer come in as well. Like, there should be a plan for infrastructure, just like roads, servicing. There's talk about getting high-speed internet finally. You know, the park doesn't even have any cable. Everyone's been on wireless internet, and I think it's finally coming in now. But the existing or the other previous development didn't have it. The thing about trying to, you know, we're all trying to sell things here is you gotta show you gotta show the good with the bad. It's fine to show some of the better buildings, but in all fairness, it is industrial. Asking for M2, it's the highest, the most intense industrial use. It's not asking for anything new or a lighter industrial or commercial, and there's some really horrible lots as well, you know, right in the corner of Eames and Garden View, for example, next to one of the people here. It's been very problematic with derelict vehicles and everything parked right beside his property. Is there a proposal to upgrade roads so that you could get these lots out to what we're finally getting, an upgraded, decent intersection at Eames and McPhillips? So, like, look at the overall and network of how this is all going to get out and in to the park. I mean, luckily there is lights coming in. Otherwise, I mean, until then, there's a line up there every morning. It's incredibly unsafe. So hopefully that gets finished. And how do you get all this to that point? Because going to Garden View, it's not a good option. I mean, it's a restricted road. So obviously all of this does have to funnel back to McPhillips. So it should be looked at exactly what is going to be done to get these down there and not cost the RM, you know, maintenance on these roads every day, because they're gravel down 2nd Street and down Eames up until the paved section at the new intersection. Like I said, this is 18 lots. The existing first phase was 14. Yeah, I haven't heard anyone talk about drainage. In the secondary plan, there was an idea to have the drainage collect onto the, there was that map that was up onto the provincial highway, their portion of property at the Clover. Again, it doesn't take one developer or one owner or even 3 or 4. It takes a municipality, it takes a province, it takes meetings to try to decide and design this stuff, you know, at a higher level. And that's the drainage that was, there was a lot of good ideas in the secondary plan, and I hate to say it, and we could say, no, we don't want to follow that road network, or anything about it, but there's a lot of things that should be followed in there. You know, that's the reason why that secondary plan was created and adopted. And we keep focusing in on, you know, the needs of one property here, one development at a time. You need to zoom out, and how are these roads going to be interconnected? To dump a road south onto another property and say, we'll worry about it later, how do you sleep at night approving something like that and assuming that it's going to be dealt with? A residential cul-de-sac, which this doesn't have even a cul-de-sac, the initial road down the center did, it doesn't even have that, is barely large enough for a regular vehicle to turn around. You know, the 10-lot subdivision we had took out the cul-de-sac because when you looked at it, it's barely large enough for something with just a regular trailer, like a camper, to turn around in, let alone, you know, what you could have. And if you drive around, you'll see what's there, you know. It's semi-trailers. It's like they have to redesign the intersection at Eames because there's, 9, 10, 11 axle cranes and low beds coming out of there, and you have to accommodate for that. That's what you're inviting. That's what you have to design for. So, you know, I get that everyone wants to develop, and the odd good thing could come out of it, but there's also a lot to be concerned. One of those properties that was shown has one of the largest propane distribution tanks on it, probably in Manitoba. I don't know, but it's huge. And you know what? That's like a bomb sitting there, and that's exactly what you could attract. And your fire department has to deal with that. The surrounding businesses have to deal with that and know about that. These are the kind of things that you're inviting.
outdoor storage is always a concern, you know, whether it's unsightly, it's necessary, it's unsightly, it's, you know, it's part of the industry, but it should be, it's been an ongoing issue with fencing and whatnot, and what do you do and how do you do it? Honestly, this really has to go back to the drawing board. Maybe the RM should be part of a neutral meeting with all surrounding property owners and a plan on what could work, because it's very difficult, if not impossible, to deal with after the fact. You know, after this is carved out, this is what you got to work with, and you're very limited, and also limited in what you can negotiate and try to provide so that everyone's in a win-win situation. As much as we all want to rush ahead and do stuff, it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work like this. And has it been tried? You know, we could say a phone call or an email, but truly, you know, with a neutral third party, we got planners at Red River, you know, that in the past have been involved. They're the ones who adopted the secondary plan to begin with a hired planner. Get these people, get everyone at the table. This is not the place to plan, you know, like, and try to make changes to something this large. I've always been told you always need a secondary access for emergency purposes also. I don't know why it's not being considered here. And then I'd just like to know if there's plans on sewer and water as well, or any, there was talk about a hydrant coming here. I don't know exactly how far it is, or if it's, if this development would be afforded water units. Has that been discussed in anything I missed here, or does anybody know? Again, there's a much older phaser that could also use water and sewer, and there's been discussions and meetings started with the municipality a couple of years ago, and you know, we haven't heard anything since or come out of that. I think that's all I had for now. Unless somebody had a question on that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Any other persons?
We did get a few letters about, notice of opposition by email. One was by John Garcia. Right before the meeting, we also received one by Joe Wedge. He noticed that he has serious concerns about the routing of traffic through our subdivision via Merritt Crescent. The developer needs to provide alternative routing for traffic that does not funnel traffic through Merritt Crescent. And from Enrique Garcia, he's also in opposition. He knows the reasons for dispute are that too many M2 lots are in the area, too much traffic in the area, and planned with no additional infrastructure. No one else is registered in opposition. We do have a couple people for information.
Okay.
We have Jerry Bolenke.
You all right? You want to come up or?
Jerry Belenke, 354 Garden View Drive. I wonder if somebody could tell me the width of Drury.
They'll be able, I don't know if we have the answer yet, but just continue.
Well,
asking
okay.
questions.
Well, it has to do with the road, right? I mean, from my understanding, that's just a narrow strip of land. They call it a road, but it's not really a road. It just goes past my place. I think it's only like 12 or 18 feet wide. So, like, if this road is going to be part of future road, where's all the land going to come from? Is Drury gonna get wider because the subdivision is in there? And I don't understand why, like, they're talking like it's unreasonable for the developer to put to make a ring road. Well, if you move the proposed road a little bit north and took from lots 18 to 12, you could make a ring road there, very simple. But it's, you see, we don't want to give up the land. It's not that it's impossible, it's the municipality is supposed to bend and make allowances like we have in all those developments that we're shown pictures in. I mean, coming here, I was one of the first people out here. I was 1972. It was all farmlands, okay? I'm probably the only living resident in this whole area. So, you know, they say it doesn't impact on anybody. Well, when I lay in my bed at 5:30 in the morning and the trucks shake me out of it, it's okay, because, you know, one lives on Addis, the other one lives on River Road, the other one lives someplace else. Doesn't affect them, right? It affects me. But it doesn't affect, right? Because it's easy to say. You know, we're making all this money from the developments. It's all I keep hearing. How much money everybody gets from all this development. Why are the taxes going up? I mean, why? We're making all this money. We showed acres and acres of land. Okay. What do we do with the money? New fire engines, snow removal equipment, service vehicles. Ames Road itself, hundreds of thousands of dollars were put into that through the years because it wasn't brought up to standard. Now we're going to have an argument between the government, because people are going to go down Garden View, which is a provincial road. Second is a municipal road. So who's going to pay for the upgrades? You know who? All that money we're making. That's who's going to pay for it. Okay, I don't know why we need M2. Outside storage. But also we can store gravel, sand, soil, pretty much anything. Right? That's what we can. Right out my bedroom window. You see that? It's stored there. It's M2. Okay. You know, a lot of buildings showed what the subdivisions were done here. And I've been probably at all of them. Because when this first started, and I would have to go back to Taylor, who was the manager here, and then a young fellow named, you know, how they come and they talk to me about how great this whole place was going to be. It was going to be like Inkster Park. Do we see Inkster Park here? No. We see trucks and trucks and trucks. All this development, every time we come in, most of it is all trucks. You look from all the way from the mid steel place there to 2nd Street, and there's the buildings there. There's trucks in the buildings. All that whole lot, it's all trucks. So that's why we need M2, because we couldn't have that in M1. If we had M1, these people wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to put up buildings. I think we should have buildings. I don't think we should have, this is what it was promised. It was promised a business park. Where's the business park? Industrial. And it's not even industrial. And, you know, coming up next, the same thing. Come here, we give up, we say what we say, everything's okay, then it comes back, then it comes back. All these lots here that are proposed here, they can be joined and separated and divided and everything. I don't know. Like, I think we have to allow them what they can do and not keep it open. We should have some way of saying, This is what we want. This is the municipality. I mean, we have to think about how it's gonna impact the municipality budgets. By just giving a blank sheet here and letting them do, and then we pick up the tab for everything. We've been picking up the tab. I don't have a problem with that. We do that over and over again. Where are we gonna put the snow removal here in this lot? Right in there, sir, it's all done. Where's the snow gonna go? We're gonna haul it? Who's gonna haul it? Municipality? Right? There's no place to put the snow. I said that time and time at different subdivisions, and we're hauling the snow. So, what are we doing? Creating employment for the municipality? I mean, honestly, it should be a benefit. We should be making money from this, not adding to our costs. So, I don't know. I guess the garbage isn't going to be picked up on the street. I guess it'll be bins or something like that. I don't know. Depending on the businesses, will there be garbage cans in front? If there's garbage cans, I don't know.
Businesses have their own services.
Well, I'm just asking that, you know, like, I don't know what kind of businesses are gonna go in there, but if there is, we have places where in the wintertime, the cans are out and the trucks can't pick up, so, that's really my thing. I mean, him showing this WFK business there, how great it is, well, come to my place, I'll show you how great it is. My trees are rotting, they're drowning. We had a ditch, took the ditch out, filled it up with gravel, dug a ditch in his property, flooded me out. So this is how great it is. Show the picture, but don't show the actions, you know? The results. Everything is great in the pictures. Anyhow, that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Any others?
Lastly, we have Norma Alberg, registered for information.
Okay. You wanna come up?
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to ask Ms. Shaw, do we do any snow hauling in the RM?
I can't, I'm not sure, I apologize.
I don't think that we do. I'm fairly confident that we don't.
I'm not aware of any, but I wouldn't want to state conclusively.
Proceed, say your name, address.
Norma Alberg, 312 Evelyn Avenue. The two main concerns that I have both been spoken to this evening, but I'd just like to reiterate a bit. I'm certainly for the economic development, but as Mr. Belenky said, finding a balance so that it's to the benefit of the RM. I'm concerned about infrastructure being in place before, so that there's good planning, the solid planning, the roads and the water in particular. And I would encourage you with the water. I know that we have put the pipe already to the business park with the intention of spreading the pipe throughout the business park. We now have one reservoir that's at capacity. We're waiting for the second approval of the second reservoir. At this point, I just want to remind council that except for the new homes that have been built in the last 6 to 8 years, we have 64 houses in West St. Paul that have water. So all of the rest of us, we don't have water. And I think that I would strongly encourage you to add language in here that would restrict or absolutely not permit any industrial use of water. So if there are industries there, they can have sort of the regular office, kitchen, bathroom, whatever. But anything that has industrial use, whether it's now permitted or under a conditional use, I would encourage you now to have the language in there to say, not ever. We don't have the capacity to provide that water. If they wanted to have such a business opening in the park, in either this subdivision or any other part of the park, and they want to put in their own reservoir, they can do that, but not from the municipal one. And for the roads, I think Mr. Garcia spoke of it well. We're talking about kitty corner across the interchange of the perimeter, the Trans-Canada, and number 8, if we go Parkview Point and now over to the business, both of these have been extremely poorly planned. The business park is there, and it's constantly, we're reminded that it's the best position because it's right there at the interchange, easy access on and off. Well, you have to take the good with the bad. And so if some emergency does happen on the highway and they need to come around, guess where they're coming? They're coming, they need to come through Parkview Point or through the business park. Do we have the roads to do that? No, we don't. Will it happen? Probably it will. Today, I heard that in Brandon, they are currently doing their new overpass, the daily overpass. And so the old one is the one still in use, except a train derailed today and the cars hit the old one and damaged it and put it out of commission. And the new one isn't ready. So their major link is shut down till further notice. So will it happen? Yeah, it will. Old man Murphy in my life, he's got his thumbs hooked in my back pockets every day and he's gonna stay there. So I think that diligence on your part is really to show that you are ready for those emergency and unexpected times, that you've actually got all of your planning and your infrastructure in place so that you can handle that urgent time, not the everyday, day-to-day humdrum stuff. That's when you're doing good planning, and I encourage you to make sure that you can answer in your own mind that, yes, this is the right thing that we're doing right now, and we've got all of our ducks in a row.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Any others? Oh, none? Okay, I guess if the applicants want to come forward to respond to, by all means, Councilor Packer.
To the planner, when I look north on the north part of this property, it says Addis Avenue. There's sort of a strip of land there. Is that land and then it's Addis Avenue? Like, yeah, see that sort of little strip of land there?
This one?
Like on my drawing here. On this drawing here?
Yeah.
See, it says Addis Avenue.
Yeah, that's,
here.
yeah, that's.
Is this a strip of land?
Yeah, that's Addis Avenue, yeah.
And does the applicant own that piece of land?
No,
So there's no connectivity to Addis or Drury?
no.
There's no possible second access unless the adjacent properties cooperate, is that correct?
I think the second access, as the applicant's proposed, would have to come down to Drury and then road improvements to go east out to St. Paul, but that would, I think as Mr. Ojo outlined in his report, that would involve Drury, which is a undersized right-of-way. It's not the 80 feet. I don't know what it is. I think it's probably 33, something like that, and then would probably require some private properties to have to give up land for the widening and
Yeah, I
that
think it's going to
connection.
address that.
Yeah.
So until those things happen, there is no secondary access available at this time.
That would be fair to say.
Okay. All right, and in the application, it says that sewer will be addressed by holding tanks?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and to Ms. Elias, for outdoor storage, can we specify in the DA that if there's outdoor storage, there must be fencing?
And that's included in
It's
our
standard.
zoning bylaw as well.
It's already
Okay.
used on
Standard.
it,
Good,
yeah.
good.
And the fencing, Madam Counselor, has to either be solid or opaque, so you can't see through it.
Okay, all right, good. And should we have in the application that the proposed street that's going in will be paved?
There's a condition of approval
Yeah,
that they would have to do that.
okay,
And that's a condition of the sale of the land as well.
okay. And the other thing that's really strange about this subdivision application map is there's a bush in the middle of the street. Why is that being showed?
Bush in the middle
I
of the
think
street.
Can you answer that?
So maybe I can answer that. I'm guessing that's just a surveyor
Okay,
indicating what's there.
I assume it's gonna get removed.
Yeah.
Hope so.
I don't think you can pave there. Okay, good, thank you for answering those questions for us.
Just
Thank you,
applicant can
ma'am.
come up.
Yeah, I'll come with you.
In your summary, or response back, can you also address whether or not the recommended conditions in the approval, you're okay with those recommended conditions? As stated in the planner's report.
Can do, absolutely. Okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity to provide a rebuttal on the different comments that we've heard here from the public as well as the questions from council. I don't know if there's a way just to get back up the presentation just so I can go to some images that I have. If that's possible, that's great. If not, that's okay. Initially, member of the public came up and just said, that it was premature, it was not clear, that there's no turnaround for the semi on the property. Now, just to bring back that we did have the initial proposal doing the cul-de-sac, and the cul-de-sac would be to an industrial standard. It's not a residential standard. West St. Paul adopts standards from the City of Winnipeg, and they meet a requirement for the turnaround. If a turnaround is required by council, we can easily put that into the subdivision for the plan approval portion of it, but it will become redundant in future, and then it'll be a responsibility to continue to maintain a cul-de-sac that's not actually required. So yes, we do have an anticipation that in future, the landowner to the south could develop a portion of the road. I had that on, how does this, I'm not too sure why it doesn't show here. It's on the slide that's a little bit halfway up, is that we had indicated, thank you so much, that potentially it's a dash line. We don't know exactly where they want to put the road, but reasonably they could develop that portion of Drury basically halfway all the way over to the east, which is what the council had wanted under the expression of interest. They wanted to have Merritt and St. Paul connected, so that way there wouldn't be, the concerns with the turnaround. There'd be access going through. People wouldn't just funnel straight through Merritt. There's additional ways of getting out. For the time being, it's true that they will take 2nd Avenue down to Eames out to the set of lights that are going to be there, I believe, by October. We're not going to be done by October. It's going to take longer for us to get there. So rest assured, that will take time. The road that my clients are developing will be all heavy-duty asphalt to an industrial standard, so it's not going to be a road that's going to be of a lesser standard. I'd heard that concern. There was a concern around the concrete batch plant. Rest assured, your zoning bylaw has it a conditional use. If this council or any future council receives such an application and you don't want it, you do have the right to deny the application or put conditions on there to meet whatever, concerns might need to be addressed. In terms of how are roads paid for, this whole road is being built and paid for by Tony and Tony. They're the ones doing this. This is not coming out of the pockets of residents to build that road. So this is out of their pockets. They do this. They build the road, they dedicate the land. So just to understand that process, that's how the roads are built. For the roads that are already in existence, my understanding is that the municipality, can confirm probably better with Pam, they have an idea of how road improvement collection fees will happen. So for 2nd, or if somebody wants to develop closer to Garden View, those roads will be taken care of through the development agreement, and there'll be monies gifted to the RM to put towards that improvement at a future date. There were concerns around the fire department, and I just wanted to put forward that, to the best of my knowledge, the building code does have standards in place that are extremely high for your industrial park. So again, Pam had kind of let me be aware that this was a requirement. I believe they have to have their own private cistern on site in order to provide water, so we're not taking groundwater out for that purpose. It has to be on site at all times in case there is a fire. Why not a U-loop road was another question, and one of the main reasons was we have the problem of the 2 parcels that we don't currently own, so we couldn't develop along the property lines 100%. If we do a U-loop in this very small area, there's also concerns with that you have redundancy in your roads, right? There's no need. If we could get, lots on top, on bottom, lots in between, and then another set of lots, absolutely. But we don't own the lands to the south. So at this point in time, we were able to develop by putting in the central road and we provided road connectivity so that the landowner to the south could go forward.
It's something the U Road, to just interject, the U Road provides zero connectivity at all. I mean, it would be in our property out the other, it would be no different, no better connectivity than putting in a
Cul-de-sac, exactly, so.
And I think second to that too is you gotta remember the roads are built, we provide the warranties on the roads, but after that maintenance of the road, the snow clearing, the repair on the road, that's to the RM. So to put a bunch of roads when they're not necessary, it's detrimental to the RM in the future, because they're responsible for it. Once the warranties are over, that road becomes the RM's responsibility. So you be careful when we talk about road conductivity. If you make too many roads, there's a snow clearing that's got to attach to it. It's the repair of those roads. They do not last forever. So, you know, this was practical, serves its purpose. It's what, you know, what we thought was best.
Absolutely.
Given the situation.
There was also a mention that it was premature and that there needed to be some neutrality with, you know, reaching out to the adjacent landowner. So in the first instance, my clients, prior to hiring me for taking on this service, they had reached out to the CAO to have that very thing done. And unfortunately, it didn't happen, but they did that back in December, just after, I think the expression of interest was awarded sometime in October or so. I can't recall the exact month, but we presented in summertime, so by late summer, fall area, it was awarded, and then by late fall, early winter, they were trying to reach out to the adjacent landowner and have that discussion. You know, they weren't just going to come forward with a plan, and they had 3 different options that they were willing to discuss, as well as if those 3 didn't, you know, hit the mark, what else could it be? It was open for a discussion. So when that meeting was not able to be secured, because unfortunately the CAO vacated the position, they did hire me, and I reached out. Now, I'm a registered professional planner, and as much as I am hired by them to do these services, I'm a professional, and I am a neutral person in many ways. If they needed to have that discussion, I opened the doors, I opened the discussion, and I always said, if you have any questions on this, you know, we were trying to have a meeting about it, and it wasn't accepted, the invitation. So that's to answer that question. I don't think that they have come forward trying to rush anything. They were very sincere in the expression of interest that they wanted to develop the lands and not just sit on the holdings forever. The secondary plan does have an idea of road development. They're still meeting the spirit and intent of that by providing the ability for the roads to connect in future. So those were kind of the main points. I know that there were some other questions that were asked that I think are more of a bigger picture item that the municipality may need to consider when they do their zoning bylaw review to make it, you know, look at other issues that you're seeing that are bigger for the area. That's not really for my clients to answer or deal with. The proposal before you is definitely one that's suitable for the area, that, you know, checks the boxes as far as I'm concerned. And in terms of the recommendation for the conditions of approval, my clients have not expressed a single concern, and they have said yes to any restrictions on use that you may have concerns with. The main one that we really want to keep, though, of course, is the outdoor storage. And, you know, yes, the zoning bylaw has standards in place to put fencing up or screening of the type. And I know that there was a mention of the property over by Eames that had some derelict vehicles and such, and really, again, not an issue for my clients, more an issue for bylaw. And I think going forward, you see the quality that they're putting into the park now. We're building on that. We're not bringing in stuff that is an ongoing concern that's not part of their developments. So, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I have nothing, no.
Yeah, no, and there was, I mean, just to touch, there was some inaccuracies in the comments from the public. A standard 80 feet is not a standard for right of way for residential street by any means. That is the industrial standard. It is the industrial standard for the city of Winnipeg. So that's you know, I also heard a comment via letter that we have too many empty lots in the business park right now, and that's what we're trying to avoid. we're trying to build on this vacant land and get buildings done. Our lots that were sold, basically, there's maybe one sitting that doesn't have a building on it yet, or doesn't have a permit pulled in order to put a building on. So, you know, this is something that we want to bring now, and we're acting upon now. So, you know, I just ask council to,
Excuse me.
we just ask council to, you know, see the application for what it is, and I think it's in the best interest of RM of West St. Paul to continue their vision and be open for business, because they have been very blessed in the past to be able to expand it the way they have, and this is why the RM of West St. Paul is considered the gold standard in municipalities. Thank you.
Does council have any questions?
Yeah, I did. Actually, I was first.
Actually, you weren't first.
I wasn't?
No.
Well, you put your hand up for it?
I acknowledged it first. You go second.
Okay, Mr. Texera, I appreciate your cooperation with regards to the truck terminals and you know, no seed cleaning plants, of course. One more item, if I may. Warehousing industrial and commercial goods. That's a permitted use, and with the way the road system is and the units you're putting in, would you be putting in warehousing in there?
Again, we as a business model ourselves,
Yeah.
we don't intend to.
Okay.
However, if we sell this to somebody, that may be a possibility,
So would you be amenable to put in the development agreement, we don't want commercial or industrial warehousing
Well,
in there, because that would bring the trucks in
Yeah,
again?
but I mean, okay, so West St. Paul years back indicated that they wanted this to be their industrial zone, their business park.
Mhm.
How can you remove trucking element from industry? It just doesn't make any sense, so.
No, but you've agreed that you don't want a truck operation in there, or a truck terminal,
Or a
right?
truck terminal, no, a truck
No,
terminal is a
right?
completely different ballgame. Truck
Yeah.
terminal is for staging trucks, and
Okay.
it's completely, I'm okay with that.
My only concern, and I'll be honest with you, my only concern is the road structure there and getting in and getting out and for a truck to turn around.
Well, again.
And so I have a member of my family who is a truck driver,
Mhm.
right? And I said, look at this plan and tell me whether or not you could turn around in there. They said, it could, but it'd be very difficult. So that's why I have those concerns, right? So, you
Again.
know, I'm trying to look into the
No, I
future
understand.
for you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You've addressed a lot of my concerns.
Yeah.
So I
No,
appreciate that,
Yeah.
right?
No, and it's like Jennifer said, look, you know, this is we're not transportation engineers. All we can do is take what the industrial standard in order for
Yeah.
this and follow it. And that's what we're doing. This is seen in other industrial parks the exact same way as we're proposing in other industrial parks within the city of Winnipeg. So, I mean, we can't go and reinvent the wheel and create a new standard, and we can't be expected in order to do that. I mean, I think it's a matter of opinion for people to say that you can't turn around.
No, this person's pretty seasoned.
The standards are set already for the city of Winnipeg, and they're turning around, so I mean, that's all.
Yeah, well, without infringing on others, I don't know, but, so Ms. Lim, I'm gonna ask you a question. You said that originally you had a cul-de-sac in there, why didn't you keep the cul-de-sac in there?
Yeah, okay, so thank you for the question. The reason why the cul-de-sac was taken out was because there was no connectivity. When we were at the expression of interest, council of the day had said that they really wanted to have the intersections of Merritt and St. Paul addressed at some point. We don't own those lands, so we can't force the road all the way through, but we can provide a road access point, so that way that landowner doesn't have to build all the way from, I should go this way for you, because this will be east to you, so St. Paul Boulevard all the way over to 2nd Street. We instead are taking that burden off of them by providing the access point, and they only have to do half of the lands over to the east. So it's a good middle ground is really what we're providing.
And if I can add to that.
Oh, yes.
Sorry. When we after acquiring the parcel, we did meet with the CEO at the time and with Pam and Mr. Romano, and we brought the three plans that we had before them. They didn't prefer the cul-de-sac. They said, the number one we would prefer would be to the north and south. And we
Yeah.
said, okay, so why don't we do this? Let's reach out to the adjacent landowner and see if they want to partner in order to do these access, because they would benefit, we would benefit, and we'd utilize the city's right of way, okay? We've demonstrated that we've done that. We did that through the CAO at the time, and we did it through Jennifer, and there was no willingness for the other landowner to participate, which is fine. That's their prerogative, but we can't force them to do that.
Mhm.
So then we asked, what's your, they said, well, we prefer that you do, the one that we proposed for you today, and not do the cul-de-sac.
Okay.
And we had that discussion.
So administration is the one that directed you this way?
Not directed, no. We asked for their thoughts on it.
Okay.
And they gave us their thoughts, and we made our own decision on how to present it.
Okay. And Ms. Lim, you had said that they could go on Drury Avenue halfway down to Merritt Crescent, but you've now acknowledged that they don't own any property to the south, right?
Yeah, that was part of my presentation. I don't know that I had said anything different, but all the lands to the south
Yeah.
would be required because of the way that the original subdivision was done for Merritt Crescent. They've already subdivided lots. If you were going to do half of the dedication on the lot to the south and half to the north, which is the typical process, that means you've got to take lands from 32, 47, I think it is. I can't remember the addressing, but everything on Merritt Crescent would have to equally give lands away, and you're involving multiple people into a subdivision application. It's not realistic. The most realistic is that the landowner to the south will dedicate and develop that portion of the road in order to connect them, and then they could potentially subdivide lots along that road, and that's up to them for when they do it.
Okay, and that hasn't happened yet?
Well, that hasn't
They
happened?
They haven't dedicated any?
No, absolutely not, no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilor Campbell?
Okay, so this property that you have, I've driven by it, I see that you're bringing in fill. Do you have, currently a height, like a set height that you're supposed to be built to for the road and stuff like that, and the properties?
Yeah, Barnes and Duncan gave us a generalized drainage plan in order to work with. Obviously, at the time when we first got it, we didn't know where the road was going to be, so it couldn't be extremely precise, and it's not a final.
Yeah.
But they did give us elevations of what to work with. Yes.
The reason I ask is I've had calls about, and is the case with any, the lot that's newest always builds higher than everybody else. So I've had calls about flooding to the north and to the south from you guys building to whatever elevation you're going to. And I'm just wondering if at the north and south portions, and I'm sure it would be with your drainage plan that you guys have started or will be starting some sort of drainage ditch, just so that to alleviate any water going to the properties.
Yeah, we'd be happy to address that for sure.
Yeah.
And just want to make sure that was my biggest question.
Councilor Pankta?
Yes, to Mr. Bernini, who brought up the point, or to Mr. Texera, you guys talked about there's a huge demand for industrial land right now. Like how much of a demand is there in the capital region?
Well, I can only speak to this particular, the phone calls I've received, and overwhelmingly, I would say if things get going here, that 3/4 of that's probably spoken for. That's the interest we've had. So
Again, we don't have, I get calls probably 3-4 calls a month. And, we take the occasional name, and, after a while, we just said, look, it's going before council, we don't know what we can and what we can't do there, so let's not put the cart before the horse. We said, once, just watch for it, we give them timelines as when it's gonna come. Some of the people that showed strong interest are already in the industrial park, have bought from us before. They want more properties there to either expand their business or open different businesses. And it's also contacts and colleagues of theirs. Those we have got an ongoing list, but there will be absolutely no issue in selling out the lots.
Thank you.
Councilor Campbell?
I did have one more question. Do you think, would it be a good idea for us to, council and to yourself, to say that, X amount of time that someone has to build on these lots after, you know, all your works are done to ensure that there's no empty lots? Is that something that you would see as a problem?
Nah, well, okay, so generally that is done with subdivisions, like residential subdivisions. Through my experience, I've never seen that done in an industrial one. For the simple fact that when you're talking putting up a $3 or $4 or $5 million building, you know, they might purchase it. Like, for example, say we did this subdivision a year and a bit ago, when interest rates were still low. And then they acquired the land, and when we went ahead and we did it, they put the deposit down, they took possession. Now interest rates went from 2.5% or 3% up to 6 or 7. Now it kind of puts them, would put somebody in a bind, you know. And so where I'm getting at is we have to be careful on how that's, because we can't force somebody into a bad situation.
Yeah, I can see that. I was just trying to address some of the other councilors' questions.
I'm just gonna add a little bit further to that, because I do, like I speak about the exterior storage and why I'm so passionate about it is, you know, I have a local gentleman, he's got a roofing company, small contractor. You know, he was looking to purchase one of these properties, and what he said is, you know, because they're not gonna be cheap, he says, I can't afford to put a building on there right away. You know, is there gonna be restrictions? Because small owners don't have that capital, right? So purchase the property, you know, bring it to the standards, and then slowly put that building up. Sometimes it's just restraints on these small businesses don't have the big capital to put buildings up. So that's.
But I don't think that's going to be the case with the list that we got.
No, yeah.
No.
So further to that comment, if he's a roofing company, is he gonna be storing stuff on the property then, or?
Well, it's more vehicles than the fence.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, for more-
so we're not gonna see a bunch of
No.
materials all over the place? Okay. So if there were outdoor storage, he would have to fence?
Fence
Yeah,
it,
absolutely.
screening,
Yeah.
everything, yeah. There's a full standards to that.
Anyone else have any questions? No? I have a couple of questions. So you mentioned the road that goes on to Jury. Like, do you have a date of when this will be done, or?
Sorry, we don't have any control over when the landowner to the south is ready to move forward to develop their lands. We had tried to engage in a discussion on that. It wasn't entertained, so we don't know, and we have no control over that.
That's true. I'm glad. That's what I understand. So then why don't you change your road in the center to a cul-de-sac? Because otherwise, we never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good question. If we do put in a cul-de-sac, which could be an amendment to the subdivision that can be done fairly easily, there's no change to the overall road layout, there's no change to the number of lots, so it's just basically a minor amendment to the subdivision, that can be done. There's two considerations here, is that, well, first of all, the cul-de-sac, you know, when you substantially comply with the regulations in the schedule, you don't have to have it in an industrial use subdivision, is the first component. The second component is that, let's say they decide to come forward and make the development. Once they do that, you have to do a road closing bylaw, as well as remove portion of that cul-de-sac, or leave it there in perpetuity and maintain it forever. And what's the reason for that, right? So just as a consideration for the municipality, it's redundant in the future when the road is developed, and it's still your responsibility to either close it off and remove it and, you know, bring it back up to a certain standard, or maintain it and keep it there forever. And it's unnecessary, so.
Well, it'll be unnecessary then when it happens, but we don't know when that will happen though. As
Yeah.
you said, we can't force any developer to put a road in there unless, you know, we can't do that just yet because no developers come forward. So we have to go with what we know now, not what we think is going to happen in the future. And you could be right. A year from now, someone could do that, but right now, no one has an answer. No one has come forward to it. So to me, I think the cul-de-sac should go back in. And the other issue is, you're bringing in a warehousing operation. No, you're allowing, it could be a warehousing operation to come in, right?
It's allotted for in the zoning.
Yes, so it could happen. I should say not your bringing, but it could happen. So I don't know, I'm going to ask the planners that when if a warehousing operation does come in, can we sort of put a conditional use that trailers that come in, you know, the largest trailer size is a 53-foot trailer with the cab on it, that it stays within the property as opposed to jutting out onto the street, because I think we run that risk right now in the industrial park, so.
Right, okay, I understand where you're coming from. So in your development agreement, you can have performance standards and limit land uses. You cannot make something that's permitted in your zoning bylaw all of a sudden conditional through a development agreement. So you can't do that. In terms of limiting the size of trucks allowed to drive on the road, I don't see how you.
No, it wasn't the size of trucks.
Oh.
It's, you know, a 53-foot trailer comes in, backs up to the building,
Mhm.
and the cab is sticking out onto the street because they didn't allow enough frontage in front of the building to allow for a 53-foot trailer plus cab. I mean, you know, they say they can drop the cab and move they
Yeah.
can drop the trailer and move the cab, but that's work for the driver. I think it's gonna be a battle to do that.
I'm not sure, Mr. Mayor, if you can actually address the size of the truck and the trailer, but what you could do, you can require additional standards in your development agreement that go above and beyond your zoning bylaw by saying you need a bigger front yard setback.
Right.
You could do that.
Yeah.
As it pertains to warehouse.
Sure, you could have that, you could make it that specific. I'd be wary about addressing the size of a truck.
Yeah, no, I'm not, setback is
and
what you're
also
referring to.
because I just don't know
That's
how
what
you
I'm
would
thinking of.
actually
Yeah.
enforce that.
No,
so to speak, so.
it's a setback.
But we could deal with a setback for sure. You
Okay.
can do that through your zoning, or through your development agreements.
Okay. And what was the, Councilor Shetty?
I just want to comment to something you brought up about putting that cul-de-sac back in. I don't feel like that'd be working. If you look at, well, the existing, what we have there, Merritt Crescent right now is a dead end to a road that in the past they figured is gonna go right through there. All that road is doing right now in this development is basically making it realign to what Merritt Crescent in the first phases, I guess, of this business park looked like it was gonna be doing. There is already a dead end right at Merritt Crescent at a right-of-way for Drury.
Yeah, okay, but they're coming out of, they want to come out of the development onto Merritt, but the road is not developed, so how are they going to get out?
No, I understand, but Merritt Crescent in the past, from whatever councils, has done the same thing, has brought it to a, here's, let me, just so we.
I get that, but why would that be good?
Hold on. Well, this isn't a road.
Yeah.
No, I know it isn't a road.
But they already have Merritt Crescent going to there. This is basically going into there. So it's making this council or next council look at, do we get that next part of the road in to open up? Again, it's a one-way into this industrial area, the same way it's a one-way into that one.
No.
The whole pre-existing first part of the industrial park, I guess I'm gonna call it, is a one-way in. The
Yeah.
whole thing.
Ms. Lim, can you show us the cul-de-sac picture?
I
Do you
guess
mean the
question was-
expression of interest one?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
No, they would be on us, I guess, to eventually put this road right through.
But when are we going to do that?
Well, when were they planning to do it when they did this part? So,
I know.
where that more
That
realigns
was
with
one,
what
but it wasn't
we've
big.
previously done.
There it is.
Rather than running it this way and then we gotta go all over.
Okay, so there we go. There's the cul-de-sac.
Mr. Mayor, just as a point of information, there are tools available to the municipality that we did discuss, but the municipality doesn't have interest. You can expropriate to make a road, and so there is that. Realistically, you're gonna wait for that landowner to come forward, and then as part of that subdivision, you can get them to widen and develop the road. But there is a tool available to the municipality that they could expropriate that portion of the land and then develop the road.
I know, my point is that the proposal you have now is all based on that someday that road is going to be put in, but someday could be any time, you know, as Councilor Bruschetti said, like the current phase, the current developed industrial park we have now, when it comes to Merritt Road, is that what it is? You know, it ends, but, you know, that development is over 30, 40 years old, and it still hasn't been done, so it's conceivable that this development could be waiting 40 years for that road connection to happen, which is probably That's why I think that they put in a cul-de-sac for it. Council, the planner had a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. In terms of this cul-de-sac, by all means, have a look and have your discussion. I wouldn't stop that. But what I would say to council is that I wouldn't recommend that you make a condition of approval to change it to a cul-de-sac. And the reason behind that is that this application is proposing a new road, which was proposed as a through road, and because of that, a public hearing is required. Changing it to a cul-de-sac, our office would view that as a significant change, and a new public hearing process would be required. In fairness to the public hearing process and how it was advertised showing a through road, albeit to connecting to a road that doesn't exist, but it was not proposed as a cul-de-sac. There may be the potential people out there that have no problem with this layout as proposed, but might have a problem with a cul-de-sac, and they haven't had the opportunity to attend this public hearing and speak to that. So if the applicant wishes to change that, we would view that as a significant change to the proposal, and another public hearing would need to be had. So I'd encourage you, sorry ma'am, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I would encourage council to deal with the application as it's been presented to you.
So to the planner,
Yes, ma'am.
why would this be advertised as a through street when it's not going through?
The layout, as they've proposed, coming from Second and then going down to Drury.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I
it's-
mean by a through street.
Yeah.
I recognize it doesn't connect to
Yeah.
a
It's not a
developed
through
road.
street, right?
It connects to a right-of-way that has not been developed, nor is it wide
Yeah.
enough. But that's how they've proposed it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes, I'm just saying that, you're saying that the public hearing is for a through street, and I'm saying it's not a through street, so it's not really, it shouldn't have been advertised as a through street, but you're saying
Well, we
it
didn't
is a
adver-
through street because it has the potential to become a through
You
street.
didn't advertise it as
Okay.
the language, but
Yeah.
the layout has been
Yeah, yeah,
advertised.
I get it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So a question then to the planner, then, the only way to do this then is to, if a cul-de-sac is desired by council, is to defeat this.
That's what we'd recommend.
Um,
Or allow
I'm-
the applicant the opportunity to make a amendment to this application by tabling things.
Oh, okay. Because this application is both the zoning and the subdivision, right? It's not separate, it's together, right?
It's a combined hearing, but there are two separate applications.
Okay,
So
so
you
do
can
we
make
have
two separate decisions.
resolutions for this?
So you can make a resolution to approve or reject the rezoning.
Okay.
And then you can make a resolution to approve or reject the subdivision. Those are sort
Okay.
of independent of one another. The planner has recommended that as part of the subdivision, there's a condition that the land actually be rezoned, so that's the only way it's kind of tied together. So-
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just
Go
as a
ahead.
brief point of information, if we get denied, we have to wait, I think, 6 months under the Planning Act before we can make reapplication, which delays development in your industrial business park. So we would really appreciate being able to move forward with the plans as proposed. We may also have potential, and this could be verified with your planner, would we be able to, if it is the will of the majority of council that this cul-de-sac has to be there, would we be allowed to amend the application, re-advertise, and bring the subdivision back, is the question.
The planner was
Planner through, no?
The Planning Act outlines that if council rejects an application, they have the option to not accept the exact same application within a period of 6 months. So if you were to reject this layout of subdivision, the applicant could the very next day make an application for a cul-de-sac or a different layout, which could come to council. They wouldn't have to wait 6 months.
Okay. Councilor Bichetti, yes.
Before we get into cul-de-sac or road, like we've heard from a couple council members, but we don't know if the majority wants to see the cul-de-sac or are good with the plan that, the way it's been presented. So at what point do we, before we jump the gun here and, start going into it, do we go to a vote for that first? Do we?
Just a question, I'm just unclear still. An amendment, we don't have to deny it, it can be amended, right?
Yeah, so if the applicant wishes to amend their application, they could do so.
We would just table it.
Council would need to not make a decision on the item
Okay.
tonight. You'd have to table it. Some councils in the past have done that.
All right.
Can I get an answer? Like,
sorry,
do we go to a vote on it, or like before we
We
go
have
to
to
the?
decide amongst ourselves, I guess.
I'm sorry, Councillor,
Well,
I'll vote
if
on.
we're happy with the cul-de-sac or this as presented.
Yeah, so there are, there's sort of two questions before you tonight. One
It's
is,
three,
well,
right?
one is, are you okay with rezoning this property to M2?
Okay.
I think that's the first thing council needs to establish. If you're okay with that zone, then you move on to, are you okay with this lot layout?
Okay.
And if you're not okay with the lot layout, then you vote against it and the applicant can do other things. Or council
Table it.
could decide to just table that application and let the applicant think about it. I think you've done that in the past on other types of applications where you've given people a month and they've come back with changes or not, so.
Well, Mayor, if I may, could we maybe just go down the road and see what everybody thinks here?
Yes, by all means.
I'm good with this layout.
I'm good with this layout. I do feel at some point the applicant to the south or that we hook up to Drury at some point, so I think it's good that it is already there. Who knows how long it would be, like I said, the other existing business park has had a similar layout for a long time as well.
Okay.
I'm for the cul-de-sac because I don't think the property, if the property owner hasn't given yet, they're not gonna give. And so I think it would be smart for us to put the cul-de-sac in and do an amendment and, layout can stay the way that it is with the cul-de-sac on the end. And then that way, if the property owner never gives in, which could happen, then it's properly designed. And we're not denying anything, we're just saying, can you just amend this? And you know what, I have to say to Mr. Textera and Mr. Berganini, it's too bad that we didn't go with that original one because you did propose that one, right?
Mhm.
And
But
that-
I thought we were being proactive, we didn't mean.
Yeah, I know, right.
We tried our best to be as transparent as possible and.
Yeah,
and-
absolutely,
Yeah, and
yeah. Yeah.
Councilor Patrick?
Yeah, I think, my vote is gonna be hinged upon, like, there's been a case made for good use of taxpayers' dollars. There's also been a case made for, meeting the demands of industrial land and development. There's also been an argument for a night of the future. I think that this development, I'm fine with the zoning, I'm fine with the layout, and I'm fine with the proposed routing here, because I think that a good case has been made. Like, I see what you're saying, Mr. Mayor, that, like, for me, when I first saw it, when I first was reading this on my own, like, a couple days ago, I thought, why aren't they doing a cul-de-sac? But now I see why there's some wisdom in doing it this fashion. Connectivity is a huge thing, and it's something that's unknown, but it's something that's absolutely required in our RM. And we have to take a bit of a risk. I think this is a calculated risk. There's been some outreach and some, reaching out to landowners, and we're having just the fact that we're having a discussion here that's going to be made public through YouTube is an important aspect of this planning as well. I think that this is good. It's going to create jobs. It's going to create tax base increase, and it's going to create a good planned area with some connectivity. So I'm fine with moving forward.
Okay, one last, so if it goes forward, how do the trailers turn around in this, if that road isn't open?
Yeah, so the expectation, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate the question. When they're construction vehicles will be able to get in and around undeveloped land because they're construction vehicles, right? When the actual trucks come down into this area, they'll be going onto lots that are developed to industrial standards. So they'll be going into a property that is designed for the trucks to come onto it, to make their turnarounds, their maneuvers. They should be designing in a way that they won't have the trucks sticking out, and such. I mean, the developers will build their lots for the truck traffic that'll be coming down there, and what would be the reason for a large tractor unit to come down unless it's coming to visit an already developed site? That would be my proposal.
So just to recap, just on this, so each lot would be big enough for a 53-foot trailer, or whatever size trailer, to turn around in the yard without going to the end of the road to turn around?
So the lots are going to be developed for whatever use size trucks will be coming there. So if one of the lots, probably one of the larger ones, was going to have a larger truck come onto it, it'll have an asphalted space to an industrial standard where a turnaround can be made. I don't know the exact turnaround that every single, unit will make, but because we're not engineers, the cul-de-sac standard that is for industrial should be able to be for all of the largest fire trucks, the largest, industrial trucks. And if those industrial trucks, don't have that cul-de-sac, they'll be able to go onto the industrial built-out lot, and the lot will be developed knowing that they have to provide a turnaround for those largest trucks. So, yeah.
I guess there was talk here about that some of those lots could be wind up subdivided.
No, I think yeah,
Oh, they're combined?
yeah,
Oh, combined,
the discussion that I had heard was that under their previous subdivisions, they had contractors, establishments, or businesses come in where they needed 2 lots instead of 1, and they couldn't build right on the lot lines because of zoning bylaw requirements, and so they had to consolidate lots, and I think that was more of the discussion.
And Mr. Mayor, I think if anybody bought one of these and had to subdivide it, they'd have to go through the whole subdivision process again.
Yeah. The vast majority of these are minimum widths, so you can't go further without there being some other zoning assigned to it.
So could we put that in the development agreement that any future lots, that these lots would not be subdivided in the future?
I think the zoning bylaw already regulates, and then, I'm sorry, maybe I'll let the planner, I apologize, that's more his question than mine.
You put your old hat on for
I'm
that.
so sorry. Sorry, Mr. Eno.
No, you could not put that in a development agreement. You can't take away the rights of an application that's afforded under the Planning Act. However, Mr. Mayor and Council, if turnaround radiuses or maneuverability of truck and trailers on a property is a concern, you could address that through your development agreement as well. You could require that site plans be reviewed by your municipal engineer to ensure that there's maneuverability before a permit could be issued. You could have something like that in there.
Okay.
That's a
Are
good
you
thing.
acceptable to that?
Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, sorry.
Go ahead.
But that's per lot, right? That would be
For each lot, yeah.
for each lot.
Yeah.
That's not the layout that they're showing here. That would be to each lot owner after, I guess, purchase or lease.
Correct, it could be addressed similar to how each new property has to provide a grading plan for each new building that has to be, that's gonna be proposed to be built. You could address it in that sort of similar fashion.
So would we put that in our conditions or in the development agreement?
I would suggest outlining it as one of the things that you would address in your development agreement, along
Okay.
with landscaping design, buffering, access. You can
And then
put
all the
down
other things
truck
we talked about.
maneuverability, something like that.
Okay.
Is that something that we could put on our DA that would transfer back to the land developer to put in their, I'm sure you have DAs with each landowner. No, I guess not if you're selling, not if you're selling it, no.
So if we
No, that's
sell
all-
it, they
yeah,
would,
yeah,
we
that's only
would
when you're.
provide a DA with them, they would have to follow the DA.
So if you put those parameters into the development agreement would run with the land which each new owner and
Okay.
each new
registered
parcel.
outside,
Yeah,
So,
as well as from the process of if a permit came through our office, one of the things that our staff does is has a look at the title, see if there's a development agreement. If there is a development agreement that outlines that the municipal administration needs to have a look at it, we forward off the plans to your administration for them to have a look at. Similar to what happens along Capulus, with all the development along there, to make sure that all of the design guidelines that you placed in those DAs are being adhered to.
so, Mayor, so just, can you clarify for me again what you said? We could put in the development, agreement, they must demonstrate maneuverability on each lot? Like, how did you phrase that?
Prior to a permit being issued.
Okay, prior to a permit being
Yeah.
issued.
You trigger it at the permit stage,
Okay,
right? Because obviously that's when you're gonna have the buildings and where driveway accesses are gonna go and all that sort of thing.
and then you, before you would issue any permit for a building at Red River Plan, you'd be looking at that development agreement and saying whether or not that would be a condition that you would have to follow?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. We would involve your administration for that review.
Can we just have staff maybe wordsmith that, because we're to be asked to be read into the record when we make our
Absolutely.
decision?
So one other concern is that, you talked about drainage. I just want to make sure that the wording goes in there, that the drainage does not impede drainage from other properties.
Yep, you have that in there.
It is
Did it
covered.
say impede other
Yep.
Okay, I didn't see that in there. Okay, good. Okay, so then, now that I understand what you're going to do there with the turnaround in the properties, that wasn't, now I see why you want to do what you want to do, so, okay. So then I guess we will close the meeting, and then we'll have the resolution.
We have to close it.
Yes.
And could we just have a quick short break?
After?
Yeah, after we vote.
Yep. Okay. Where is it?
Okay.
Oh, it's right there, okay. Be it resolved that council, sorry. I'll wait for it to get this done. Okay, be it resolved that council do hereby close the public hearing and resume the regular meeting of council. Could I have a mover, please? Council Bichetti moves.
I'll second it.
Council Paxton seconds it. Any questions? All in favor of the vote?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, carried. So now we'll go into our second reading of the zoning bylaw. I'll wait for everyone to, you all ready for it, or?
Yes.
Okay. Be it resolved that that bylaw 2023-6P be a bylaw of the rural municipality of West St. Paul to rezone the subject lands identified as 65 Second Street and unaddressed parcel rolls 400700 and 401000 from A80 agriculture zone to M2 heavy industrial zone be read a second time. Could I have a mover, please? Council Bichetti moves. Could I have a seconder? Council
second it.
Paxton seconds it. Any comments, questions?
Mayor?
Superintendent, Constable Fiber?
Mr. Texera and Mr. Berganini agreed that, and would like it addressed in the development agreement, that truck operation and truck terminals would not be part of this development, nor would sea cleaning plants.
Okay.
So I'd like that addressed in the development agreement.
Okay. Hold it, just wait.
Yeah, he said truck terminal.
Okay.
Not truck operation.
Truck terminal.
What's a truck operation, difference between a truck operation and a truck
Well,
terminal?
no, because if you have dump trucks and stuff like that, it's still a truck operation, but it's not a trucking terminal. That is like warehousing and loading and unloading of just constantly parking semis.
The way we had it on Main Street, right? We don't want that.
Well, yeah, like the one on Main Street where it was just
Yeah.
a shipper kind of doing its work.
So you're saying a truck operation
Truck
is what?
Terminal operation. Oh, sorry.
Truck operation?
Truck terminal is one thing, a truck operation would encompass too many different things.
Can we have the planner tell us what comes under, what would be a truck operation?
Mr. Mayor, I'm just scrolling to the definition here, so you can be absolutely clear on it.
Scrolling.
Sorry, it's on a phone, so it's, Okay, so it has to do with size of the operation, essentially. So a truck operation, and I'll just read the definition verbatim, means a building or land used for a smaller trucking business whose fleet does not exceed 15 trucks or buses per acre to a maximum of 30 trucks or buses. Has some other words, but that's the main thing. So 15 per acre, no more than 30 total.
But does it say what kind of trucks?
Semi trucks and trailers, flatbed trucks, box trucks, cube vans, all those sorts of things. A truck terminal means a building or land used for a larger trucking business whose fleet exceeds 15 trucks per acre or exceeds 30 trucks in total. So a trucking operation, you could say essentially less than 30, trucking terminal more than 30.
So it's the same thing, it's just the number of trucks?
It's the intensity.
I have no issue. I personally don't have an issue with a trucking operation because we just dealt with the one on Main Street, and we specifically mentioned that that they could be looking at what is this, M2 zoning?
Yeah.
M2, yeah. We specifically said that.
And we denied it.
We specifically
In
said
that
that
area.
they need to move to an M2 zoning.
Yeah.
Not where they were where they were on Main Street. So
we were-
I'm gonna stick by my comments and say that I'm okay with the trucking operation, not a truck terminal operation.
Yeah,
but a truck-
I'm not okay with it, but we can address that when we get to the development agreement, because it's exactly the same thing, except it's just less trucks. And the issue's been trucks, the semis, so, okay, whatever.
It's not a residential neighborhood.
Okay, is that it then?
It's the turnaround.
Can we proceed? I guess I'm looking, are we able to proceed now? We understood?
We got a mover and a seconder already.
Yeah.
Just gotta vote.
Okay, all in, okay, call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, carried. So now we go down to 5.34, third reading zoning bylaw amendments, BL 2023-6 resolution. Okay. Be it resolved that bylaw 2023-6B, being a bylaw of the rural municipality of West St. Paul, rezone the subject lands identified at 65 Second Street and an unaddressed parcel rolls 400-700 and 401-000 from A80 agriculture zone to M2 heavy industrial zone be read a third and final time, signed, sealed, and therefore passed as a bylaw of the RM of West St. Paul. And further be it resolved that third reading of the bylaw 2023-06P be given under the condition that the owner enter into a development agreement with the municipality to address, but is not limited to, building and landscape design standards, buffering, access, drainage, water, sewer services, garbage and recycling responsibilities, and contributions to business park and road improvements. Could I have a resolution?
I'll second.
Sorry, just a moment, Madam Mayor, and limiting the use.
You can also add to the end of that, the development agreement is to address provision of sufficient vehicle maneuverability and circulation for trucks and trailers.
Before permits?
Prior to permit being issued for each one.
I'm good with that as a mover.
Yep.
As
Good.
well,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Mr. Mayor, if council wanted to limit the land use of a truck terminal, that's also where you would add that in.
Okay, yeah.
So.
I thought we just put that.
But I think we also talked about a seed cleaning
Oh,
plan.
and sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, truck terminal, right?
Yeah, we're not allowing that.
And it-
Or
and-
seed cleaning.
Okay.
And seed cleaning plant, would that have to go in there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I'm the mover, he's a seconder.
Okay, I'm okay with that then,
Yeah,
if
second.
we, prior to permit being issued.
Okay, good, okay, so
Okay.
any other
I'm
comments?
good as amended.
Yep,
Yeah, I'm
you're
good as amended.
Okay,
Question.
could I call for the vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None, carried.
Okay.
So,
We done with everything?
no, we're down to 5.35, or subdivision, 23, be it resolved that council.
Yeah.
That's the same one? So that is for the subdivision.
That's for the
That's for the subdivision.
Okay, resolution, be it resolved that the Council of Rural Municipality of West St. Paul, under section 125 of the Planning Act, approve subdivision application S23-3006 for property identified as 65 Second Street and an unaddressed parcel, roll 400-700 and 401-000 to subdivide 34.4 acres into 18 industrial lot sizes ranging from 1.3 acres to 2.66 acres, subject to the following conditions. Applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the Chief Administrative Officer of the municipality that, one, should say A, taxes on the land be subdivided to the current year, plus any arrears have been paid or arrangements satisfactory to council has been made. Payment of any applicable development levies have been paid. Drainage lot grading plan to be prepared by a qualified engineer and submitted prior to any development to the satisfactory of the municipality, and to ensure that the proposed property does not drain into or impede drainage from the neighboring properties. Owner to enter into a development agreement with the municipality to address but not limited to building and landscape design standards, buffering, access, drainage, water and sewer services, garbage and recycling responsibilities, development levies, recoverment costs, and contributions to business park road improvements. New roads to be constructed with heavy-duty asphalt and to meet industrial public road standards.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Go, by all means.
Just as part of the D, the development agreement, I'm assuming council also wants to add in, just with the rezoning, similar to the rezoning, the site plan review for vehicle maneuverability
Yes.
prior to permits, and the limiting of truck terminal and seed cleaning plants.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
We're gonna add that, that's added in there?
It's
Okay.
added in.
Okay. 2, applicant owner submits confirmation from Drainage and Water Rights Licensing Branch of Manitoba Conservation and Climate that applicant has satisfied the requirements from that agency as detailed in the correspondence from November 8th, 2022. This pertains to obtaining a water rights license. For more information, contact drainage at governmentmanitoba.ca or call the 1-800-214-6497. Applicant owner submits written confirmation to the RRPD from Central Gas that an easement agreement has been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to existing land and future facility associated with the subdivision, and a plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided. Registration of this agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. Have to contact Manitoba Hydro, 12360 Portage Avenue, Manitoba. Applicant owner submits written confirmation to RRPD from Shaw Communication that an easement agreement has been entered into with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision. Registration of this agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. Contact Lyanda Rotan or email Winnipeg Planning. Applicant owner provides written confirmation that sufficient information has been provided to our regional technical service engineer, Mandip Senbi, or at the government address to allow him to determine if drainage from his site has adversely affected the provincial highway drainage system. If necessary, our regional offices may request their applicant to submit a detailed drainage plan prepared by qualified experts. Please note that the cost of this study and any revisions to the highway drainage system directly associated with this proposed development will be the responsibility of the developer. That the applicant owner obtain approval from council for the associate rezoning application. Do we have to add in, everything else has been added? Yep, okay.
Move.
Can I have a mover for it? Councilor Shetty moves it, Councilor Campbell seconds it. Any comments? You want to speak to it?
Yeah, I just want to put some comments on the record. This is a fairly significant industrial development within West St. Paul. I'm excited by it. I want to thank our applicants, Mr. Berganini, Mr. Texera, and their planner, Ms. Lim, for putting forth a good application. I thought it was well done. We had a good discussion on council here, and I think that you're on your way to creating some good development for West St. Paul, employment, some good buildings. You have a good track record, both of you, for developing in West St. Paul, and we thank you for that. And we hope that you have good results with this one and in future development, so thank you.
Mayor, if I may?
Good, by all means.
Yep, the development is good for the industrial park. And thank you to Mr. Texera and Mr. Berganini for addressing some of my concerns. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Have any other comments? Okay, can I call for the vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not, seeing none, carried. Okay.
Good night, congrats.
Could we have a 5-minute
Oh, yeah,
recess?
let's have a recess, please.
Yes, because yes. Okay.
You think that we need to extend? it
Yes,
now?
I
Yeah, we'll
feel
have to
that
extend
before
it.
we start this, we should extend the meeting to 10:30.
Yeah.
What we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing, there are some high priority items that we need to get finished tonight. Whatever we don't finish tonight, I think we're going to plan to have a meeting on Tuesday because the budget, draft budget is available. So then whatever we don't finish tonight, we can finish on Tuesday, September 14th at 6.
August, tentatively August 4th. I'm gonna
Au-
confirm, so I'd like to, if we do need to table anything, I'd like to just say to a future date.
Or to a future date? Okay, so then.
And Mayor, are we gonna finish our planning items though?
Yes, that's why I said, that's the high priority, there's,
Okay.
the ones that need resolutions, that's
Yeah.
what we're gonna work on tonight.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're into number 6,
So we're
1.
going to extend the meeting?
Right, okay, so,
I'll move, or
okay,
I'll second
can we
it.
extend the moving? Who seconds it?
I second it.
Oh, there are 3 here. Pactican moves it, Bichetti seconds it, okay? We'll move it to 10:30, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Are you opposed?
No, I
No?
didn't
Okay.
get my hand quick enough. I don't want to be here to 10:30, but
No.
I'm still in
So, okay,
favor.
carried.
You can
So
do
It's done to 10:30, so now we'll go into 6.1, the resolution
Okay.
for subdivision 2912, 3rd Street. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul under Section 125 of the Planning Act approves subdivision application S21-2912 as amended to allow the property located at 8 3rd Street to create 2 lots with 1 lot measuring .9 acres in size and lot 2 measuring .83 acres in size, subject to the following conditions. Applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the Chief Administrative Officer of the municipality that taxes on the land to be subject for the current year plus any arrears have been paid or arrangement satisfactory to council has been made. Payment of any applicable development levies have been paid. Revised lot grade plan has been provided to satisfy the municipal engineer. A landscape plan and elevation drawings must be prepared in adherence to the landscape and building design standards applicable to the plan area to the satisfaction of the municipality. A proof of approval has been provided to the RM's office of any planned access to Eames Road from the city of Winnipeg. The release of land development and building permits may be delayed. Applicant owner has submitted with written confirmation from the city of Winnipeg of approval of a vehicle asset connection to Eames Road.
Mayor, can we hear from the planner before we move and second this?
Yes, by all means.
Yeah, so this is a subdivision application amendment, just like you noted, S21-2912. The address is 8 Todd Street, road number 400-564. The intent is to amend the current subdivision approval of proposed lot 1 at 0.93 acres in size and proposed lot 2 at 0.85 acre to 0.95 acre for lot 1 and 0.83 acre in size for lot 2 respectively. The zone is M2, a subject site and the surrounding area. And this is the new subdivision application map submitted by the applicant. The new lot line is shown in red, given the building location has been adjusted a little bit. M2 bulk regulation in terms of setbacks, building heights, and lot area and lot width. And RRP analysis. Council approved the original subdivision application on November 15, 2021. RRPD board approved the set-up application, and the conditional approval letter was sent out on December 17, 2021. Through this subdivision amendment, the applicant is making a minor changes to the proposed lot sizes due to the building location adjustment. According to the applicant, the minor building location adjustment is to maintain safe sizing for an accessible fire lane in accordance with fire code safety regulation. Aside from the RM and City of Winnipeg requirements, Other commenting agencies generally noted no concerns. RRPD is recommending approval subject to two conditions. One from the RM for payment of levies, taxes, lot grading, landscaping, building aesthetics, and the other for confirmation from Mr. Winnipeg in terms of the access to Williams Road.
So if council will recall, I'll go back to the site plan, please. If council will recall, this is the application where the applicant is building a building and going through a subdivision all at the same time. And the property line needs to run directly down the center of the common firewall there.
Right.
What's happened is the applicant, the property line needs to be adjusted because where the proposed lot line is going to be, as for the last approval, is actually 5 feet offset. The applicant wanted to provide, as Mr. Ogier said, some other fire lane accesses, as well as some additional landscaping room on the east end. I don't have a graphic for the screen. We do have the plan that's from our file if council wants to look at that sort of landscape plan. So in order to facilitate that and to have the 2 units on 2 separate titles and have that lot line and firewall all aligned, the proposed common lot line has to be moved over a smidge. So that's why that's here in front of you. I got 2 copies of the landscaping plan. Maybe I'll start one at this end, and I'll start one at this end. This is the area that was affected, a little bit more landscaping, so we're going kind of way, scooch that way. So I'll start that.
Looking at this, Mr. Landscaping on this side, looking at this picture, which way did it go?
It went to the west.
That way.
That way, okay. Just so that it,
But the entrance is here, right?
okay, so that's here. Oh, they put the landscaping in here, and there's no lot.
This just keeps going on and on.
Oh, okay. It is right here.
Hopefully you can start building now, once we do this.
Yeah.
That makes sense now.
Oh, it's already done.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So how does that affect the property on the other side of the building? You say it has to be 5 feet?
About 5 feet, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, give or take, fractions of an inch there.
Yeah.
So essentially, one of the proposed lots is getting a hair bigger and the other one's getting a hair smaller. So because of that and because the lot line needs to be moved and because this involves this complex issue of a building and property line, that's why it has to come back to council for your official endorsement.
Okay.
I have a question.
Councilor Clyburn, go ahead.
I have a question for you. Why wasn't this addressed initially? Like, obviously the fire, we know the fire codes and so forth, and so why didn't it get addressed right at the hop? And why are you suggesting not to approve it?
Our original, I guess for the first part of why it wasn't all this, I couldn't speak to that.
Okay.
As I'm not developing the property. Our original recommendation of not to approve this relates to the lot sizes.
Okay.
So the lots that are being proposed are vastly undersized from the zoning that's on the property. Thus, it doesn't meet the stringent criteria of approval under the Planning Act of adhering to the zoning. So.
It originally wouldn't have adhered to the zoning anyways, would it?
No, our original recommendation was also not to approve.
Okay.
Yes, so that hasn't changed.
You're staying consistent?
Yeah. We're trying to.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? No? None? Okay, so could I call for, go ahead.
I need a
A
mover and a seconder.
please.
And
I'll second.
there you go.
Okay.
The 2 on the ends will.
Yeah, got it, good, okay. Any comments, questions? None? Call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? Carried.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
No more moving that building.
I was gonna say, get her done.
Good night.
Next. Okay, first reading on the zoning bylaw amendment 2023-8P. Be it resolved that the bylaw 2023-8P being a bylaw of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul to rezone the subject land lot located at 3828 Main Street from RR residential to commercial mixed use be read a first time. for the first time. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll move.
Councillor Clyber moves. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Bichetti seconds it. All in favor?
No, we've got to
We
hear
have a discussion
gotta
first,
hear
Kate.
the
Kate?
application.
The zoning bylaw amendment application of first reading of BLJ 2023-08P. The location is at 3828 Main Street, roll number 52600. The intent is to rezone the subject lands from RR residential to CM commercial misuse to facilitate the establishment of a mixed-use development. Subject site and the surrounding area. And this is the applicant's site plan, which is kind of conceptual at this time. A rapid analysis, the applicant is proposing to rezone the subject property from RR to residential to CM commercial misuse to facilitate the establishment of a mixed-use development. The subject land is designated a settlement center, which allows for a range of urban, semi-urban, and suburban land uses. The subject land is also falls within the Middle Church Secondary Plan and is designated mixed-use neighborhood. Generally, the subject proposal is consistent with the settlement center policies of the RPD plan and the Middle Church Secondary Plan. However, more research and analysis is required before we can recommend whether this proposal should be approved or not. We recommend that first reading be given to the bylaw, allowing a public hearing to be scheduled, and our office to conduct further research, including circulating the application to government agencies. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions? None?
Mayor, I think that we had extensive open house on this a couple of times. We've had the planner here, so we're all aware of what the concept plan is.
Yeah. So could I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Carried. 6.3, reason for rejection of conditional use resolution. Whereas the conditional use application has been made to allow truck operations to operate at 3924 Main Street in the CH Commercial Highway Zone, and whereas council has considered the application, the information received as part of the application process, and the Red River Planning District Development Plan, the Middle Church Secondary Plan, and the West St. Paul zoning bylaw. Now be it resolved that the subject application was rejected on July 13th, 2023, because the applicant is not consistent, the application is not consistent with the West St. Paul zoning bylaw 2-99P. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Bichetti moves. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Clyber seconds it. Any discussion?
Just a question.
Go ahead.
So I'm confused. So we've already voted this down. So why is it coming?
Under the Planning Act, if you'll recall a few months back when I spoke to council when you're all first elected, there's been changes to the Planning Act which now require you to provide reasons for when you reject certain applications.
Okay.
So if you're to reject a subdivision, a rezoning, a secondary plan amendment, as well as a conditional use, you have to now provide reasons of why you've rejected it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was under the new bill that they put through, right?
Bill 37
Bill
brought
37
that
says you
into
have to do
effect,
that.
yeah.
And,
But-
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, well, we did state reasons, but I'm just thinking, we can't state our own, like, we have to state reasons that touch upon the bylaw? Or, because we stated reasons,
They
pretty
have
sure.
to be legal reasons.
You
Legal
can-
reasons?
Yeah.
You can state whatever reasons you want through a resolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Oh, I
it's a bit of a quagmire in that
Okay.
the act outlines that council has to state their reasons. The challenge is always, what does council mean? Council as one body or council as individuals? And each of our municipalities are going about doing this in their own unique ways.
And just so we clarify to the planner, those reasons are important if it's appealed at the municipal board,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Under conditional use, it's not appealable.
That's correct. We're not sure why
Why
you
we're
had to
doing it,
provide reasons if
but-
it's not appealable. My guess is that one of the original versions of Bill 37 was going to allow for conditional uses to be appealed to the municipal board. That's not the case anymore. I suspect maybe that was an oversight by the province of just not taking that out.
Yeah.
Can you maybe provide a menu of choices for us in the future so that we can do it right the first time?
Yeah, I think we've provided you something before. I can send it again, absolutely, just with some standard language and kind of a menu of sort of standard reasons that come up, and of course you can always add to those lists. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank
We'll
you.
get it to you.
Thank you.
I'll add, Mr. Mayor, it has been our practice to do the resolution for reason of rejection at the meeting following that which it was rejected.
Yeah, there's no obligation under the act that if you reject something at one meeting, you have to then provide the reasons at that same meeting.
Oh, okay.
So you can take
Fair
a
enough.
moment to collect your thoughts.
Okay, that's fine.
Any other questions? No? Okay, could I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, carried. So now we go down to, yes, we are.
Good night. Have a good night.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
So we're gonna go right straight down because
You wanna do the payroll?
Number 15 is general business.
Yep.
Do you need us to do the payroll, Ms. Shaw?
It can wait.
Okay.
So we're going down to 15, right?
Correct.
Speed alert signs?
General business, yeah, okay. 15-1.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming down. It's nice seeing
Thank you both planners.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor.
Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul accept a low bid for the supply of 3 street alert signs submitted by ATS Traffic Manitoba in the amount of $10,350 plus GST, and further that the speed signs alert be installed on Northumberland Avenue, Allenford, and Rossmore Avenue. Can I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councilor Clyber moves. Can I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Patcan seconds it. Any questions, comments?
I'll just
Councilor
say,
Patcan?
thank you. I'm glad to see that this is on, that we have a resolution in front of us here.
Yeah.
These streets obviously are problematic. I remember on the campaign, I remember talking to a lot of residents on Northumberland with regards to speed issues. So I hope that when we do install these speed alert signs, that it will help mitigate speed, because it's when you have people passing people on Northumberland, that's a bit of an issue. So these are mobile signs too, so that we can, as a council, determine other locations. But I think this is a good first start for these streets: Northumberland, Allenford, and Rossmore.
Here, here.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, could I call for the vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, carried. That's this one. 15-2, request for the lights around the pond. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul accept the low bid for supply and installation of lighting around the pond in the trails of West St. Paul Development submitted by Anderson Electric and Sons in the amount of $26,643.05 plus GST. Could I have a mover, please?
move.
Councilor Bichetti moves. Can I have a
Second.
seconder? Councilor Clyber seconds it. Any comments, questions?
No, I'm glad we're putting these in. Councilor Bichetti asked for these for safety on the trails, and it's good to see we're doing that.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? All in
Oh, we
fa-
did,
We
moved
did
it.
Oh,
We
we
moved
did?
it.
Question.
Can I call for the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, carried. Okay, 15.3, tender for supply of 5-foot sidewalk plow. Be it resolved that the rural municipality of West St. Paul issue tender 2023 for the procurement of 5-foot sidewalk plow, and whereas the bid received does not meet the needs of the municipality. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Rural Municipality of West St. Paul reject the bid submitted to for tender 2023, and be it resolved, and further be it resolved that the municipality reissue a tender for the 5-foot sidewalk plow. Could I have a mover, please? Councilor Bichetti moves. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
Councilor Campbell Clyber seconds it.
Can we have, just in the effort of transparency to the public, why we are reissuing the tender?
Yep.
Yes, thank you,
Yes, by all means.
Council. I
Yep.
can speak to that. So as noted, we had issued a tender for a 5-foot sidewalk plow. We received one bid, and when our staff went for equipment inspection, we found that the actual physical footprint was larger than 5 foot, which would still damage the sod on either side of the sidewalk. So what we are recommending to council is to reject the bid, reissue the tender with some updated specifications that will keep the plow well within the boundaries of the sidewalk for clearing, which was the intent of this tender.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, can I call for the vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None carried. 15-4, supply of security cameras. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul approve the quotation for the supply and installation of interior and exterior video security monitoring equipment for the Public Works Building to Tech Video Security in the amount of $13,911.27 plus GST. And further, be it resolved that the funds be borne by the Public Works Building Reserve. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll move.
Councilor Campbell moves. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second it.
Councilor Pactacan seconds it. Any comments, questions? None? Okay, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
No opposed? None? Carried. Okay, so now we'll go down to 18-1 in camera. Be it resolved that according to subsection 152 of the Municipal Act, Council does now move in camera to discuss matters that are preliminary stages representing which discussion in public could prejudice the municipality's ability to carry out its activities and negotiations and personnel. Be it further resolved that in accordance with section 83 1D of the Municipal Act, any issues that are discussed are kept confidential until discussed at a regular council meeting. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved.
Councilor Clyburn moves. Could I have a seconder? Councilor Bichetti seconds it. Any questions, comments? No? Okay. Okay. Can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? None? Seeing none? Carried. So there, we have two resolutions to make. One of them is a memorandum of understanding for the 3rd Street water main extension, whereas resolution 2023-267 passed at the regular meeting of council on June 22nd, 23, directed administration to draft a memorandum of understanding for the extension of potable water infrastructure on 3rd Street. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul approve the memorandum of understanding for the extension of potable water infrastructure on 3rd Street. And be it further resolved that the Mayor and CAO be authorized to sign the memorandum of understanding. Could I have a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Pactacan moves. Can I second it? Councilor Campbell seconds it. Any questions, comments? None. Kate, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Seeing none, carried. Next is the resolution for the CAO recruitment. If I have you, can I read it? Can you read it for us, Acting CAO?
Yes, Council, thank you. Be it resolved that the Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul authorize the Mayor and Deputy Mayor to sign the negotiated employment contract between the Rural Municipality and David Wardrop as the Chief Administrative Officer for a 4-year period commencing on a mutually agreeable date in September 2023 and expiring September 17th, 2027.
Okay, can I have a mover, please?
So moved,
Councilor Pactacan moves.
I'll second it, but why are we saying mutually agreed upon date? We have a date, do we not?
We do. It's September 18th.
Yep, September 18th. He's coming September 18th.
Okay?
And that's the
I'll note that
mutually
in the,
agreed on date then.
Yes.
I'll note that in the resolution.
Okay.
The mutually agreed upon date of September 18th.
Did you have a, you wanna?
Can you speak to it?
Sure, by all means.
No, I just wanted to speak to it, Mr. Mayor. I think we had a long recruitment process, and I think it was very thorough. And the candidate really excited about having Mr. David Wardrop join our team here at the RM of West St. Paul. I think he brings an impressive skill set, being a professional engineer, a professional accountant, as well as a Master of Business Administration to the role. He's proven himself to be a proven leader and a person that can, get things done. And, just super excited to have David Wardrop join us as a CAO.
Anyone else? Nothing? Okay, can I call for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Carried. Now I adjourn the meeting. Be it resolved that this meeting of council stands adjourned at 10:20 p.m. on Thursday, August 10th. Can I call for a mover, please?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Paquette moves. Can I second her, please? Councilor Pichetti seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Carried. Thank you very much.